recognition, much less the big leagues. Paul, in contrast, with clout and influence, has essentially paid his way to fight in the big leagues. And if you have enough money and clout, it seems like in our society today you can almost do anything now, no matter where it's fair, just or not. Using his money and influence, he was able to get athletes with legends behind their names to fight him. And to his audience, he was taking on the best of the best, which added weight to his declarations of being a great fighter when he won. And it annoyed boxing fans to no end, especially since most could see that almost all of his fights favored him. All of his opponents seemed to be older, retired fighters in financially difficult spots, that or they weren't even boxers. Take his fight with Ben Askren for example. In his prime, Askren was an incredible fighter, so good in fact that he represented the US at the 2008 Olympics. Jake Paul's decision to take on a former Olympic athlete was impressive, almost brave. However, this loses all meaning when you start to realize that Askren is a wrestler, not a boxer. The influencer wasn't fighting one of the best US wrestlers, he was fighting the worst striker in the UFC history. While the fights definitely weren't staged, it was apparent that Paul had taken the easy way to the top. And it's not necessarily his fault if he's able to do it and make a bunch of money from doing it, it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, the fact that this stuff is allowed and just continues to go on, taking precedence over real boxing, is showing what's really valued. It isn't just the dedication, skill, rising to the top from nothing. What the sport really seems to be valuing today is clout, money, and superficial flashiness. This is why boxing elites and many others question the legitimacy of his career. Many suspected the influencer wouldn't stand a chance against a professional boxer, and the same could be said for KSI and all these other influencers. So spurred on by the fact that no one trusted in his ability, and the fact that Jake is a relatively good boxer, he challenged Tommy Fury. Fury is the only pro boxer Paul has actually dared to fight, and it's obvious why. Having grown used to the slower pace of former opponents, Paul wasn't ready for Fury's rapid fire hits, and unsurprisingly Fury won, and those who doubted the influencer's skills felt justified. Now most people could ignore Jake again. For the average person, he slipped back into oblivion. As a result, his next few fights were bittersweet wins, but they just weren't landing the same, and the now 27-year-old wasn't really having it. He needed a fight that would grab people's attention, something that would anger them so much that they couldn't help but pay attention to him. A boxing fight that should never happen. A fight that's completely about just clout, money, and nothing else. He needed to challenge one of the most iconic fighters in the world. A fighter who was once so dangerous, Jake's life would have been in danger had he fought him in his prime. Mike Tyson. There's one thing that you can't deny about Jake Paul. He's confident. Few people can challenge Iron Mike to a fight and come out the other side unscathed, even at his age. Many who faced the boxer in the ring got their backsides handed to them. One even lost part of his ear. So when Jake issued his challenge, fans' responses ranged from outrage to excitement. But the real elephant in the room here is that Tyson is obviously 3 decades older than the influencer. He made a name for himself in the boxing world before Paul was even born. The only reason he stopped was because he couldn't do it anymore. During his time in the ring, Tyson fought in 58 matches and won 50 of them, and most of these were knockouts, his most iconic being against Michael Spinks in 1988. In just over 91 seconds he knocked Spinks out. The fight is now famed as the
Maak wachtwoorden met 1 tik. Kies Chrome.
sixth shortest heavyweight title fight in history. And even though he's nearing 60, which seems to level out the playing field, he should really never be fighting Jake Paul in the first place. Now, for a man pushing 60, Tyson is in incredible shape. Leading up to his fight with Paul, he hit his sparring partner so hard that he had to be sent to hospital. Not only that, but Gene Kilroy, a longtime friend of Muhammad Ali, was shocked at how far he'd come despite his age.
This is the strongest I've ever seen you.
Yeah?
Yeah, the strongest I've ever, and I know you since you're 13. I think this impresses the shit out of me. Nothing impresses me.
As fit as he may be, that doesn't erase the fact that Tyson is old and is currently dealing with the consequences of his tumultuous past. He was even forced to postpone his initial fight with Jake due to health complications, and he's dealing with more than just ulcer flare-ups that need immediate medical attention. As in 2022, Tyson had to use a walking stick and a wheelchair due to nerve issues that affected his legs. Health issues aside, he also hasn't fought professionally in over 20 years, which is why many people are worried that this bout with Jake might actually be too much for him. Promoters like Eddie Hearn have been particularly outspoken about the ordeal. His biggest concerns are the danger Tyson will be putting himself in and the lack of respect for the integrity of the sport.
Because I think it's just disrespectful to the sport, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to watch my all-time favourite fighters, one of my heroes, I guess, in a boxing ring at 55 years of age, a shell of what he once was.
He made it clear that if Tyson got seriously hurt in the ring, it was on the people who allowed this match to even happen. And Jake has actually also shown concern for the older fighter's health as well. After Tyson's ulcer flare-up in May, he assured people his primary concern was the boxer's health. However, he's also not giving Tyson much choice in the matter. Now of course, Paul seems to be running on pure ego in the build up to this fight. If you listen to any of his interviews, it's evident that he's on an unearned power trip. Sure, he's spoken about how honored he is that Tyson agreed to fight him.
It is an honor to step in there with one of the 3 biggest legends in the history of the sport.
But he's also regularly declared that he's fighting Tyson and no one else. It puts the boxer in an awkward position. Either he doesn't fight the influencer, ending his boxing career once and for all, which most would welcome, or he risks a dangerous fight that could leave him hurt and ruin the reputation of boxing as a whole. Jake is also constantly talking himself up, something that's unsurprising for clout-hungry influencers, but he seems particularly overconfident. It's almost like he's compensating for something. The what for revealed itself in an interview at the end of last month. While talking with the Today Show Australia, Paul insisted he is a killer, and that he was born to be world champion, not an easy task for a non-professional boxer, but nonetheless he's determined to be so.
People just think I'm this nice, crazy, smiley social media content creator. I like to have fun. You know, I've always been the class clown, but I'm a killer. This is what I was bred to do. This is my destiny.
However, he sounds less like a man sure of his abilities and more like someone trying to get people to take him seriously. And perhaps he cares more about what people think than he's letting on. And unfortunately for him, everyone but his YouTube audience seems to be on Tyson's side. Even fighters like Quinton Jackson and Conor McGregor want Tyson to shut that kid up and rattle him. But this fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson is more than just an embarrassment for the boxing world. It will become a demonstration of how society rewards and often values showmanship over hard work. These kinds of novelty bouts are nearly always disappointing and they're always forgotten shortly afterwards. Everyone remembers George Foreman's fight against Ali, or the time he took back the belt a stunning 2 decades later, but barely anyone remembers the time he fought 5 men in one night. It just doesn't really have the same place in history, as it comes across just so absurd. And even that fight was still a great display of strength and boxing prowess. But these influencer fights are a bit different to the classic exhibition matches we used to see. At first they just fought between each other. It was completely opaque with what they were doing with the first Logan v KSI fight. Both of the influencers got to advertise themselves in front of a whole new audience. It was also a great way of perpetuating and monetizing their manufactured feuds. Years after their fights, Logan and KSI are now in business selling moldy lunchable knockoffs, making it seem like they were always friends and business partners. Before, these fights were clearly just about the money and you could easily ignore them to focus on real boxing matches. But now these fights are starting to poison the rest of boxing, and if they continue to bring in massive crowds, they could easily become the norm. This is one of the first of these big fights that actually isn't an exhibition match. It's going on both of their records. So if Jake Paul does end up victorious, it would be a fitting analogy for the state of boxing right now. New money triumphing over an old, tired ex-champion. It's made even more tragic by the fact that Tyson is one of those rare modern celebrities whose fame is directly a result of his own grit and talent. And you can't really blame him for cashing in on his past achievements, as Tyson will earn a reported $20 million from the fight, but staggeringly that's only half of what Jake Paul will make. It still doesn't seem right. It's often a sad story when ex-boxers go back into the ring against far younger men if they lose badly. Another reason influencers have latched onto boxing is that it gives them a feeling of legitimacy. Jake Paul wants to make it as a boxer, or at least he says that he does, because it would be a real achievement. He never will, of course, and his ego tripping takes up space and attention which is directly needed by the rest of the boxing world. There are obviously far more skilled boxers in the world, people who have dedicated years to climbing up the ranks.
Soit Ninja. Nouveaux ensembles Lego Ninjago. Chaque ensemble est vendu séparément.
Tyson requested the 2-minute rounds, wanting to see more action. He just landed the overhand right, testing the beard of Paul early.
And everybody was saying, oh, nice shot by Jake Paul.
Right hand by Paul, that is his most effective.
Landing his jab right there that really knocked Jake back. I think that's his most effective punch of the round. But then we see the right hand grazes Mike Tyson by Jake Paul. That would have been a good shot had it been on the chin. So Mike barely escaped that one.
Through 2 rounds, Jake Paul 12 of 53, 23%. Tyson coming out aggressively. Tyson 7 of 34, 18%. So Tyson is averaging more punches than he did in that fight with McBride and in the exhibition against Roy Jones, where he averaged 24 punches around.
Like I said, I don't like the fact that they keep messing with that mouthpiece.
Oh, left hook! Triple left hook by Paul.
Mike's
he
hurt.
wobbled
Mike is
Tyson.
hurt.
Mike's hurt. Here you see Jake Paul Land a beautiful jab with right hand first. Right there, and knocked Mike off balance 2 times. And Mike was highly off balance right there. I don't like how his legs look.
Jake Paul, you're right, Roy. He's turning into a boxer.
Oh, wow.
Tyson's final victory was against...
Cool. Wasn't a real power shot, but it was a good hook.
Father Time is unbeaten for a reason, everybody.
That's right.
Mike taking those shots, though.
10 seconds, Warriors.
Oh, wow.
Tyson's final victory was against Clifford Etienne, the show of respect. That fight lasted 49 seconds. This one goes 16 minutes.
Judge David Yakubuchi sees the contest 80-72, while judges Lawrence Cole and Jesse Reyes see it 79-73, declaring your winner by unanimous decision, Jake El Gallo Paul!
Wasn't even shaking. Immediately, but I couldn't watch that. Yeah. Yeah.
Tired of breaking your coding flow to configure CI/CD? Meet TeamCity Pipelines, the world's most intelligent CI/CD solution, with self-tuning pipelines that will never break your flow. Easily.
We've got a journey to go on today. It started off with such a simple idea, playing The Sims 2, but it swiftly descended into a month of misery. EA doesn't sell the game anymore, and there's a lot of reported issues of it working on modern versions of Windows, so we already know this is going to be a challenge. I've acquired a rip of the original CD. Alas, the installer requires a key from the box that I don't have. So I've opened it up in a debugger and started setting some breakpoints on things that I think will get hit, like the message box A function, which is the Win32 function for creating a message box. However, it's not hit, and also pausing the process in the debugger still allows me to interact with GUI, which is also strange. Looking at the files, we've got setup.exe and autorun.exe, as well as autorun.gui.dll. Running both the exes seems to give me the same GUI, so I'm going to run setup.exe under prop1 to get an idea of what's going on. It's looking for a lot of files specific to other games, so maybe this is a shared installer. I can see it's looking for autorun.exe and the autorun.gui.dll. Running autorun.exe with prop1, it seems to copy itself into a temp folder and then relaunch itself with the -restart_dir flag. Okay, I see what's going on. This isn't a new window, it's a new process called the Sims2 code.exe. And if we disassemble this, we can see that this function checks the key and displays this error if it's wrong. So the call to sprintf here turns all the separate key parts into one string and passes that to this function, which currently returns 0. If we change the return value in this register to 1, then we don't get the error message and the program exits. So we're really faced with 3 choices. 1, we could try and find a key online somewhere. 2, we could replace this program with another that just returns success, so it thinks there's a legitimate key. Or we could patch the installer so that it just ignores the CD check entirely. So obviously we're going to go for option 4, to reverse engineer out the keygen algorithm so we can generate our own keys. Because that just sounds like more fun. Looking at the actual check function, it gets past the key and some other values and then calls 2 functions. The first shuffles the input around and stores it back on the stack, and then the second mixes in some other characters. So we can see that the initial string here gets shuffled with this, and then mixed with this. But where did those other characters come from? The comparison at the end is a partially unrolled loop.
If it's not,
if the input key is the same as the
if it's not software being sold anymore,
final transform key. Each iteration checks the next 2 characters, and if they're not equal, it breaks. However, if we reach the end of the string, it then returns true. So the game now is, how can we craft an input that remains the same after it's gone through these 2 transformation steps? Let's look at the first function, which is the one that just shuffles things around. It starts off with what might be the most horrific memcopy I've ever seen. It calculates the difference between the dest and the source address by subtracting them, and then uses that as an array index into the source. So effectively, it's passing a negative number as an array index to source, which actually happens to be the address of the dest. This took me a few passes through the code to figure out why copying from the key looked like it was just writing back to the key. Anyway, copying the string, it uses some global offsets to swap various characters around, and if we rename these to something meaningful, it becomes a lot more obvious what's going on. And we can easily write some C++ that reproduces this. Now for the second function, the one that mixes in additional characters. It does a lot more than shuffle. At a glance, it takes a copy of the local buffer, does a load of crap later, and we can now generate keys, stored in the binary. But if we just copy that out from the debugger... Okay, so I've taken the decompiled source of the various transformation functions and tidied them up and copied in the extra runtime data, and we can now generate keys. Okay, so I've taken the decompiled source of the various transformation functions and tidied them up and copied in the extra runtime data, and we can now generate keys. Running the game, and we now get a message saying that we need to insert the CD, so I guess just having the ISO mounted isn't enough. Looking around, it seems like The Sims 2 used SafeDisk, a now deprecated form of DRM. It works in 2 ways. The first involves adding bad sectors and messing around with the CD so that a lot of software will fail to copy it. And the second is a driver level check, which Microsoft removed due to security issues, so this could be tricky. So I've attached the debugger, and now I get a new message warning me that I've got a debugger attached. In order to prevent people doing exactly what I'm trying to do, games will often try and detect the presence of a debugger at runtime.
Cyber threats are everywhere. How do you keep...
So we'll need to fix that.
Introducing Fish, a security awareness...
Hello, buddy. My name is Eric, and today we're going to be talking about links. So suppose you have just accidentally clicked on a link to dangerous.pwn, and you are concerned about whether you're going to get pwned or not. What I want to talk about in this video is whether it is possible and whether it is likely to get hacked just by clicking a link. When we say just by clicking a link, I mean you click a link, and pretty much, let's say, a few minutes later, you don't put any information in and you do not download anything. Is there a risk?
Information process, but it looks
and
like
the basic answer is sort of, but not in the way you're thinking. So the good news is, officially, browsers haven't allowed code execution like arbitrary on your computer code execution since ActiveX controls were a thing, which has been mostly phased out around 10 years ago. So that's not a main key.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've got a treat for you today. I'm going to reveal how someone cheated in Discord's death by AI activity and how that led to them hacking into the company behind it, granting access to a treasure trove of dangerous opportunities. But starting at the beginning, though, this whole operation was done by someone named Bob the Hacker. So for Bob the Hacker, it was just like any other day. They were bored and they were poking and prodding around in Discord's activities when they decided that maybe they should take a look at Death by AI. Now, if you never played Death by AI before, the way that it works is pretty simple. Basically, an AI will give you a prompt saying, your grandma ran away with a knife and she's going to kill you. And what you have to do is you have to enter in a response on what you would do in that situation to survive. And once you put in your strategy, your tactic, AI will judge your response, and it will read aloud a story on what happens to you with your response and whether or not you live or die. Now, I'm reenacting the situation, but while Bob the hacker was playing the game and doing stuff, they decided to open up their Chrome console to just see what was going on between the game and Bob the hacker's computer, and you'll notice in these network requests, okay, there's just like 5 gazillion of them, but if we look in our network requests, there are 2 requests. There's a reveal request, and there's in fact 2 of them. Now, if we click on the first reveal request, move that open, you'll notice in this request, username ShmoneyManSteve, and you can see in the game, the strategy is I warm up and not die, and the game says I warm up and not die. Now, I forgot to point out, but for you to see these specific requests, you need to be the host of the Death by AI game, and that also means that if you want to cheat in Death by AI, you need to be the host of the game, so just keep that in mind. But if we go to the response of the request, we can see that we have 3 different options. We have story, which says, as the biting winds howled around him, ShmoneyManSteve huddled beneath a hastily constructed snow shelter. So it's the story, and it also tells me that if survived equals false, which sounds like ShmoneyManSteve dies. Now, if we go over to my game and we click on continue, you will notice that the AI is going to say exactly what I said. Now, the quality is going to be horrendous because there's 500 things going on my screen. It feels like I'm at a casino. But it's the same story, and if I continue, I should die and lose this round. And that is the case. But the thing that Bob the hacker was thinking is that what if there was a way to modify this response? If we could modify this response, we could make the bot say any sort of story, but we can also make it where is survived is always true, so I always win, or is survived is always false, which isn't really helpful. You wouldn't want to lose. But remember, we're looking at ShmoneyManSteve. This isn't my account. This is my friend playing. What if there was a way where we could always make our friends lose? And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to How to Cheat in Death by AI. But the easiest way that we're going to do this is we're going to get a Chrome extension called Request. Now, this will be linked in the description, and what this allows us to do
calls to EBP plus some number. Look at EBP, we can see there's a bunch of kernel 32 functions. So these are computed and then called.
To bych právě nedělal být. To bych právě nedělal být váma. Teď tady jako řeší, jestli mě dají ráno nebo ne. V pohodě.
So tracing through this, we eventually end up at this function.
You and my country?
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
So in the previous video, we showed you how these scammers operate in Paris and what's the trick behind the cups and ball game. Most of the time we were just having fun, betting some worthless money,
Okay, I'll give you 500. What money is that?
and making fun of the scammers' horrible acting.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm playing with you guys. Come on. Stay in character, man. Stay in character, okay? There you go. Stay in character.
And it's fair to say that the scammers were pretty chilled about it, and in worst cases, they just walked away.
Up to this point, it was more of a fun for us and I guess for them as well. But once we went around the tower and met with a different group, it wasn't fun at all. That's where the fun ended.
Another temporarily created DLL, this time called
I'm filming from the distance, and my buddy is among the group with his hidden camera and his glasses, trying to get some nice video of the game.
There's 2 interesting things here. One,
but the scammer in the boss shirt notices me and sends this lovely lady to tell me that I cannot film.
So they really don't want me messing around with this.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Even if I patch up
this was actually happening quite often, that the scammers would tell us not to film the game.
Just like there was multiple checks for a debug.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Looking at the entry function,
why should I delete?
We can see
because
that
it's a fun game, I'm sorry. Okay, I will delete, okay.
The code at the end of this is
okay, I'm sorry, I delete, okay. Sorry.
Thank you very
much. Okay. Okay,
I think we need to see how this really works
with
the real CD.
You think if I delete a video on iPhone, it gets deleted? Also, there's another camera pointed in my direction.
A new problem.
You little scumbag.
But this time, I didn't obey their request, and I decided to keep on filming. Well, the boss noticed me again.
And so, for more than the price of the game,
and this time he wasn't happy, so he didn't send a nice lady, but these 2 thugs.
The game doesn't actually work on Windows 11, probably because Microsoft disabled that.
Oh, okay, so you're with them?
But it does work in Windows 7.
You're with them too?
So
oh, there's too many of you, okay?
This and
okay, I don't want to scream.
For the rest of the video.
Now at the same time, the boss notices my buddy's camera is recording and starts to push him
real code, so it must be being deobfuscated.
Oh, there's too many of you,
Current thinking is that if we figure out the deobfuscation, then we can just
Now at the same time, the boss notices my buddy's camera is recording and starts to push him around, so I immediately run for help.
Stop when the program writes to it. From here, we can see the obfuscation algorithm being used.
Nebudete na něj šát. Nebudete na něj šát. Don't touch him, okay?
Does a bunch of pin manipulation.
You can scam tourists, but don't touch me.
Or rolls.
You're all just trying to scam tourists. It's okay. Do your job. Don't touch us.
Gave me a stomachache. So instead, I just copied all this from the debugger and munged
We're
it
under Eiffel Tower. We can take pictures of whatever we want.
I can see in Ghidra,
Go
this
back to your
function
game.
is actually called a WinMain CRT startup. So the game
Also,
does
it
all
was
this
just
checking
now that
before
I
it even
found
hits
out
the
that
start of the
Mickey
main
here
program.
was also
But
part
it
of
still
this
crashes.
gang,
And I
something
can
you
see that
guys
not
pointed
all
out
of
in
this
the
section
comments
was
under the
deobfuscated.
previous
In fact,
video.
the start of this
Well,
section
you were
is still
right.
rubbish. So again, hardware breakpoint, deep dive.
After the situation calmed down, I tried to explain to the After the situation calmed down, I tried something you guys pointed out in the comments under the previous video. Well, you were right. After the situation calmed down, I tried to explain to the camera what happened when a lovely Czech tourist approached me with something I just did not expect at that moment. But some other tourists were actually giving us a thumb. I just did not expect at that moment. But some other tourists were actually giving us a thumbs up.
Thank you. I became a Paris hero for 2 seconds. That's nice.
We moved to the side of the park to explain to the camera what has happened, still being closely watched by all the scammers.
Jsou nasraný, jo? Vidíš to? Hej, princezna, to je jaký vodí, ne? Ještě ty, tady jich je, kámo. To bych právě nedělal být váma. Teď tady jako řeší, jestli mě dají ránu nebo ne. V pohodě, jo? Budem v pohodě? Fuck you and my country? Dobrý, necháme to být. Hej, ne. Hey, what the fuck? To jsi v pohodě? Dobrý. Netrefili tebe? Tak jenom pulsance má, boukance. They're aggressive. Chill. Throwing rocks at me, nice. Pula, throwing rocks. Se naučit ten tobě někam jinam. Throwing rocks. Se naučit ten tobě někam jinam.
I used to work in hospitality and
I'll give him
bills, but deep down I knew I wanted something.
No, this is too long.
After this, we were really hoping to run into some police officers, but there were no in
given him
sight.
30 seconds.
But we did have a little chat regarding this scam group with a guy who takes pictures of tourists with these red balloons.
Do you guys speak English? Yes. Yeah, I just lost some money on the cups and balls game. Like, is that legal to play?
Cheating play.
It's cheating?
Yeah.
Because I could see the ball was somewhere.
No, all the guys same.
And are
family.
Family?
Yeah.
And are they here every day?
Every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Does the police do something about it?
No. Yeah, the police, nothing.
Nothing. Thanks, guys. We're in a park across from the tower where we eventually spotted some cops, or we spotted guys selling the little Eiffel Towers running away from someone, and then we spotted the cops. So we asked them about the cups and balls. They said it is illegal, they shouldn't play it here on the streets. They obviously do, and they became very, very interested when we told them how aggressive they were towards us. They even asked for a picture of the scammer, so we gave it to them.
Prends la photo de la tête des mecs. Tu prends la photo, je la prends?
We take
yeah, of course.
We take the pictures.
Yeah, this whole group, you know. And this guy was very aggressive.
C'est pour ça. C'est parce qu'il a dû les déranger s'il les filme. Si les journalistes, ok.
The police officer was right. Yep, they went after us because we were filming them, but we can film whatever we want, especially those who scam other people.
It's near the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah, it's it was where the entrance is to the through the security line. Very aggressive. They didn't like it.
Just in front of the entrance?
Yes. By the way, this entire incident in the park happened right next to the security checkpoint that's supposed to keep you safe. I guess we were on the wrong end of it. I'm not exaggerating when I say that we've been literally attacked by a group of these guys. Man, we walk around the corner and here they are again. Like, what the hell?
And it's hard to even walk past them.
Well, I guess we learned our lesson. You don't confront scammers when you're in a country that is not your home country. We're not on the home field. Dude, if I was in Prague, the guy was going to jail. Yes, we do. I will sign anything for you. Of course. But this is a different episode. So subscribe to this channel and you can watch how this works. But this is the guy was going to jail. Yes, we do. I will sign anything for you. Of course. But this is a different episode. So subscribe to this channel and you can watch how this works.
What?
I'll say you good?
So we're actually being followed by one of the guys in the black there behind me. I'm not sure if you can see him, but we were not paranoid. We are being followed. So let's get lost.
So we did get lost. We went to our apartment in Saint Denis to discuss what we filmed, only to find this article regarding a group of scammers that was arrested 2 years ago by the French police. The police arrested them and seized more than 16,000 euros in cash and 3 luxury cars. Also estimating they were able to earn about 1,000 euros in an hour. Not bad. Thank you for watching. This was episode 2 of our 3-part series from Paris about scammers. It's already now streaming on our Patreon, patreon.com/honestguide. You can go watch it. Now you'll also get some other perks that we offer for our lovely city of Prague. If you don't know how the cups and ball trick works, go watch the previous episode, which is part 1. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. Your next chapter in the Harry Potter universe takes flight as you're finally able to immerse yourself in the enchanting world of Quidditch.
Je moet er eigenlijk in zijn, niet elke seksuele partner is for life. Dus het zou best kunnen zijn dat je in de toekomst...
Zeg, spreek voor jezelf.
Ja.
of madness and folly. I perceive that this also was a chasing after wind. For in much wisdom is much grief. And guilt increaseth knowledge, increaseth sorrow.
We've got a problem. I can't anchor him to the memory. Too much psychological trauma. He's rejecting the treatment, retreating.
Desmond, I need you to try and relax.
Let me try and stabilize him.
Focus. Listen to the sound of my voice. Recognize that what you're seeing isn't real. Just a picture of the past. It can't hurt you.
Damn it. It's not working.
Give it a moment, Miss Stillman. He'll adjust. The first time is never easy.
We're losing him.
That's enough, Miss Stillman.
We need to pull him out. Now.
All right, Desmond. We're going to try and bring you out now.
You okay?
I told you he'd be fine.
Bastards!
Now, I just saved your life.
Saved my life? You kidnapped me. You strapped me into that thing.
Animus. It's an animus.
I don't even know you people. Why are you doing this to me?
You have information we need, Mr. Miles.
Information? I'm a bartender, for Christ's sakes. What do you want me to do? Teach you how to mix a martini?
We know who you are. What you are.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't play coy with me. There isn't time. You're an assassin. And whether you realize it or not, you've got something that my employers want. Locked away in that head of yours.
But I'm not an assassin. Not anymore.
Yes, your file indicated as much. Something about an escape. Most fortunate for us.
What do you want from me?
For you to do as you're told. The Animus will allow us to locate what we need. Once we have it, you'll be free to go.
I am not going back in there.
Then we'll induce a coma and continue our work. When we're done, you'll be left to die. Truth be told, the only reason you're still conscious is because this approach saves us time.
You're insane.
So what is it, Mr. Miles? Live or die? Lie down.
Lie down, Desmond.
A wise decision.
Whoa. Where am I?
You're inside the Animus.
Which is...
It's a projector that renders genetic memories in 3 dimensions.
Genetic memory.
Seems you'll need a bit of a tutorial. Very well. We'll start simple. What is a memory, Mr. Miles?
It's the recollection of a past event.
Specific to the individual remembering the event.
Yeah, sure.
I told you that the human body not only housed an individual's memory, but the memories of his ancestors as well. Genetic memory, if you will. Migration, hibernation, reproduction. How do animals know when and where to go? What to do?
That's just animal instinct.
Now you're arguing semantics, Mr. Miles. Whatever you call it, the fact remains. These creatures hold knowledge absent the requisite first-hand experience. I've spent the past 30 years trying to understand why. I discovered something most fascinating. Our DNA functions as an archive. It contains not only genetic instructions passed down from previous generations, but memories as well. The memories of our ancestors.
And the Animus lets you decode and read these DNA files.
Precisely.
But there's a problem. This is the specific memory we're trying to access. Unfortunately, when you try and open the memory, your mind withdraws. You lack the confidence to step into your ancestor's body. That's what happened earlier. You got knocked out of the target memory and pushed back to a more stable state.
Why?
It's your subconscious. It's resisting. We found similar reactions among patients who undergo hypnosis to relive traumatic events. They can't jump directly into the specific memory. They need to be eased in. Even then, there can be problems.
So how do we fix it?
We find a memory you can synchronize with, and we move forward from there. You'll get used to it. This is the closest we can get. So it's where we'll
I still feel bad for punching that virgin in the first few seconds. I was tested. I didn't know which button does what. I was like, can I do anything? Like push them away? But that's just by walking. It shouldn't.
Has been prepared in order to better acclimate you to the Animus's control system. Instructions will follow shortly.
I don't feel bad for punching that sick person that punched me though. I still want to punch them.
With your ancestors' memories. If you ever fall completely out of sync, the Animus will restore you to your last synchronized position. You are currently dangerously close to desynchronization.
I still... Should I go back more my save or not? By now I've forgotten a lot of it. No, maybe not the first one.
The Animus utilizes a puppeteering concept
But I wasn't that far anyway.
Your ancestor. I'm loading subroutines to validate your body's adaptation to the Animus. We will begin by exploring the default actions of each input. While standing still, use the head button to observe your environment.
No. We're fasting again, kind of, so give me a minute. Felt like something was crawling up my leg, but bite me. Also, what did he say? Like, there's so cryptic speech during the. Hypnotic. Give me. didn't do anything.
Empty hand to walk through these jar carriers without causing them to drop what they're holding. Proceed to the marker to continue the synchronization process.
Come on, lady. Let me through.
Well done.
Yep.
The animus differentiates between two fundamental actions: low profile and high profile. Low profile actions are socially acceptable.
I don't know. Did I do it with PlayStation controller,
Hold the
maybe?
high profile button to see how your heads-up display changes the context of the puppeteering inputs.
Blah 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 blah. Let me first kill myself. Not a metaphor, but an over-dramatization, maybe. Peeing? The iron bladder of depression. The iron fist of repression. Gimme that. Press button 1.
Excellent.
But how do you get it?
We will continue your synchronization
Still don't get it.
by testing some high-profile actions. Grab and throw this individual onto the marker by using the empty hand button in
Keep
high profile.
touching shit. Oh, damn. You a ho, you a ho, you a ho, 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 you a ho, you a ho, you a ho, ho. I'm singing a special song to myself. You. Oh, an overtime fish.
Good.
Oh, look the.
Your left button in high profile will allow you to sprint. Sprinting is useful to escape from soldiers or to get closer to a fleeing target. However, be careful not to bump into anyone, for you can lose your balance and tumble to the ground. While sprinting, reach the marker before this man does.
Racing with space. kill him. But I'm a bit confused, mate. There's some but shift, space, and button 1, right? Bruh. How do I do the jump, actually? How do I do the jump? Yes. How? Can I grab him? Just gonna smash all of that. Seriously, don't worry. Where is button 1? Okay.
By XDMs, we get a DM from a guy called Alex Norris. It might, the picture's a woman. Okay, and she's reaching out saying, and I'd basically we talk price, and I say I want $1,000 for the integration, and she says, all right, we'll do that. I've never seen that before. Now, out of curiosity, I thought we'd also check out the materials. Different version that was detected. Okay.
Sell to millions of people online with Shopify's social media and marketplace integrations. You can sell your product.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eric, and today we're going to be going through ways you can check if your computer's been hacked, what to look for, what kinds of things might happen. Now, first of all, let's be clear. There are multiple types of malware. What we're going to be focusing on today are remote access Trojans, rats, and also info stealers, which are essentially a lightweight version of a rat that only works in one direction, where they can take your data, but they don't actually get persistent control. And within that subgenre of info stealers, there are two types. There are info stealers that run once and delete themselves. These ones are actually, in my opinion, the more dangerous version because you may never realize what's happened. There are also info stealers that will run once, put themselves in your startup folder and run every single time you log into your computer. In theory, they collect more information, but they're also a lot easier to detect. Now, what should you do if you find any of these? Well, I'll talk more about that at the end of the video, but the simple answer is you should change absolutely every password and cancel any credit card on the computer. So, what are some red flags? Well, one of the ones I've recently noticed, and we actually had someone in my Discord who had this exact symptom, and he described it as I'm not able to use administrator functions. Now, what did he mean? Well, for example, this is grayed out, and you get a warning that your system administrator has disabled these functions. Now, the only time you should ever see that is at work or school if you actually are in a managed IT environment. If you see that on your home computer and you didn't set it up, boom. That's a problem. You are in trouble. So another red flag computer and you get a warning that your system administrator has disabled these functions. Now, the only time you should ever see that is at work or school if you actually are in a managed IT environment. If you see that on your home computer and you didn't set it up, boom. That's a problem. You are in trouble. So another red flag that we'll get to, let me just show you, is we'll go to Windows Security. I might have to undisable Defender in order to, and now that we've re-enabled it, what you're going to want to look for is if you go over to here, first of all, you can check allowed threats and make sure nothing that you did not mean to allow has been allowed. And then you can go on over to manage settings. And of course, this is done on purpose by me, but if you see either of these disabled and you didn't do it on purpose, that's a massive red flag. Tamper protection being off is another red flag, but some people might do that. Now, here's where almost every malware without fail, and later in the video we're going to test some so I can show you these giveaways. You will find a horde of exclusions. Now, how do they do that? Well, if you give them administrator, they can just use PowerShell to add a trove of exclusions. Almost every malware without fail, and later in the video we're going to test some so I can show you these giveaways. You will find a horde of exclusions. Now, how do they do that? Well, if you give them administrator, they can just use PowerShell to add a trove of exclusions. So what you may see is either the entire C drive being excluded, a specific folder, usually something hidden in app data or program data in here that shouldn't be in here, or you may also see *.exe, which would simply do exclusions. So what you may see is, and later in the video we're going to tag, but some people might do that. Now here's where by me, but if you see settings, and of course this is done on purpose by me, but if you see either of these disabled and you didn't do it on purpose, that's a massive red flag. Tamper protection being off is another red flag, but some people might do that. Now here's where almost every malware without fail, and later in the video we're going to test some so I can show you these giveaways.
Let me show you why I stopped paying for all my other sample libraries. This is Arcade by Output. This thing has sounds, samples, instruments, effects, everything you could ever need.
You will find a horde of exclusions. Now, how do they do that? Well, if you give them administrator, they can just use PowerShell to add a trove of exclusions. So what you may see is either the entire C drive being excluded, a specific folder, usually something hidden in app data or program data in here that shouldn't be in here, or you may also see *.exe, which would simply disable Defender on all executable files. Any of these functionally disable Windows Defender. The reason they'll do this is because while their malware is undetected at the time of installation, once their specific variant of it has been investigated, that'll change. Now, for the next portion of this video, we're going to use a free and open source tool called sysinternals. Now, sysinternals is something that it gets into the internals, and you do have to be a bit careful with it, but as long as you are just looking and not changing settings, you should be fine. Now, there are a few of these tools that are really useful, but I'm just going to download the whole suite because it's small, a bit more information. Use is either running themselves as a service, which will still show the name of the exe, or creating a fake service host or services.exe. The way you can tell is by the process tree. Service host.exe should always be running under services.exe, this which is always running under WinInit. A scheduled task that runs a fake one will not run under here, so that can be another way of telling. Another red flag would be nested service hosts if it was running as a service. I've never seen that happen under normal Windows. A scheduled task that runs a fake one will not run under here, so that can be another way of telling. This, which is always running under WinInit. Can tell is by the process tree. Service host.exe should always
How do we pause this?
Always be running under services.exe applications and our system services. Now, one trick some applications will use is either running themselves as a service, which will still show the name of the exe, or creating a fake service host or services.exe. The way you can tell is by the process tree. Service host.exe should always be running under services.exe.
It's not anymore.
This, which is always running under WinInit. A scheduled task that runs a fake one will not run under here, so that can be another way of telling. Another red flag would be nested service hosts if it was running as a service. I've never seen that happen under normal Windows. You can look at these processes and get an idea of what's normal, but given Windows does get updates, you can't know for sure. So that's this one. Now let's also go and look at auto run. Now just like the other one, you can get more information by elevating, meaning running as administrator. Now there is one annoying bug with this program I just have to point out, and that is that a few legitimate under normal Windows.exe should always be running under services.exe by elevating, meaning running as administrator. Now there is one annoying bug with this program I just have to point out, and that is that a few legitimate Microsoft things do show up as not verified. Those are these drivers, and intermittently, although it seems to have fixed itself since I ran updates, I also saw Defender not showing up as verified, which would not be good. But otherwise, we can get a good idea. Now, note how everything we have installed here is verified to be a trusted publisher. Now, in a second, we're going to run a malware sample to show how that can change. Now, this is a special Pycylon packed, and where Smart Screen doesn't like it, and Defender actually does warn us that this is a threat. Now, for whatever reason, it seems to currently like to call rats whack-a-tat, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but this is, in fact, a Pycylon that is packed using a different, uses Nootka instead of PyInstall. And don't worry, this is the local network setup. I'm not hosting these samples on the public internet, so don't try going to that website because you won't get anything. And this is usually what it looks like when you've run a rat. Note how nothing happens. Sometimes you get a fake error message, but basically nothing has happened. And if we go over to Process Explorer.
So what's the best side hustle in 2024? Well, let me tell you what it's not, because it's not going to be SMMA, it's not going to be starting an Amazon business.
Or we might find some indications of the file. Now this Pycylon's command and control server is actually dead, so it's not going to do anything harmful. And given the other sample was a bit of a disappointment, we'll just run another one. Another thing to watch out for, by the way, wow, we're getting a lot of hits on this one. Now, at least it is detected, which is good, is if you click the malware and it runs and then Defender goes off, you are not safe. Now we can go on over to Process Explorer and see if anything from this file ran. And pretty much immediately we see a new CMD, and then the process has actually spawned. Of course, once again, this will depend on whether the command and control server for this is still live. Oh, it's sent a hit. And then we get a Defender detection. But this is too late, because what was detected was another stage. Now, if we allow these, just to see what happens... Oh, we get another hit for a different... Because oftentimes rats will drop more stuff. We can see that the don't commit process just keeps going back and forth. So you can just try, and sometimes you can successfully just kill the process, sometimes it's going to take a bit more. But that's one very simple example. Now let's try some stealthier and more potent options. So here we have a fresh Luma, and these guys have got an interesting technique where the password is actually nested, so when you extract the second archive, you get, and this is, we've seen this Luma before, but I believe they've upgraded the actual stealer. And now we can go on over to procexp and see, okay, how does this, so we call this more.com, and then that calls a con host, which we can't see. That's another red flag, is either you'll see a command window that blinks for a few seconds, or you'll see a command window that is invisible, and nothing appears to happen when you run a program. Now we've established command and control with a very simple autoit script, and then the second stage is getting hit by Defender, but we have already had all of our information stolen, so don't be fooled into thinking that Defender protected you, because it didn't. The information has already gone to the command and control server, and now let's check if there's any persistence. And now the third stage has launched, which is a fake notes application, tree notes. No auto runs hits yet. And look what's just installed itself. Once the program finished executing, we discover these Logi Options Plus, which is not a program we've ever heard of, and this is running out of Task Scheduler, which is one of the most common ways. And note, if it's not verified, ignore whatever comes after it, because it doesn't matter, it's a lie. It can say anything. It can and will copy headers from legitimate system files, but unless it says verified, it is not trustworthy. Now note the 7-zip ones are also unverified, but they are well known. These are fakes. So that's bad. Now I have one more treat for you before we go over some ways of trying to fix the mess. I'm sure you remember the Minecraft rat video from a few days ago. This is completely legitimate software that we just ran. It keeps respawning itself. Now, given that we know we've now got several problems installed, let's just try rebooting and see how well this system is working. And then we can make a determination as to what to do. Now, freshly after login, let's see, do we have anything that looks like it? Oh yeah, that shouldn't be there. At least this one hasn't done the task manager disable that a few other variants have, but we can tell this is infected. So what can we do now? Now, what is one more tell just before we get into solutions? Well, one big red flag is if you see anything that looks like this. Now, this is a recreation by me because none of the samples that I ran did this, but it's quite common. I would say about at least 1 in 5 of these types of malware will do it. And what that is they will, to make your life more difficult, they will actually put 0.0.0 on various anti-malware websites. What that will do in your hosts is, if you go to virustotal.com and you have that in your hosts, it's not going to load. Everyone I've seen has done it to VirusTotal. You could try Malwarebytes as well, just to see. But if those websites are suddenly not loading for you, it's probably not because they're down, it's probably because you've got a very bad infection. So, knowing that, let's see what we can do to try and alleviate the problem. In my experience, the best free antivirus is Bitdefender. Now, I will point out that it has a slightly higher rate of false positives. I'm going to make a special... a dedicated video looking at Bitdefender, but for now, we're going to use that as a potential scan and cleanup tool. The reason I didn't recommend antivirus scanning, by the way, at the beginning of the video was because I've had such poor results dealing with especially info stealers and rats using antivirus software that I don't want to give people a false sense of security. Now, once this is installed, or if we're using a different method immediately, what we want to do is turn off the internet. The reason is because if you have a rat, the attacker could be looking at your computer and could be planning something. Much better not to let them interfere. Now that we've installed Bitdefender, we can actually run a scan. I'm also going to turn off the network connection, so anything running in the background won't be killing the antivirus.
Maybe
so we just got our first hit on the threat.
To disable,
that's good. And once real-time protection is engaged, in addition, if any of these try to execute, we can try our Luma sample again. It's just not going to work. Let's see which one got hit here. Of course, we'd have to sign in, but it will still run, at least for the first day, without sign-in, which is good. Now, let's see what it found as a threat. .comet.exe. Okay. So it only caught the most obvious. So even a good antivirus, while it will, in real time, hopefully help detect these activities, it's not a great cleanup. So what do we recommend? Well, for 99% of you, and especially if you're watching this because you want to know what to do, what I'm going to recommend is a complete reinstall of Windows. There is no other solution that doesn't require a lot of knowledge that actually works. Antivirus scans are quite ineffective, as we saw, even with good products. I wouldn't trust a formerly infected system scanned with Windows Defender further than I could see it. And even if you use a bunch of scanners, a problem is you might as well, you're generally with info stealers better off waiting for the C2 server to just die than you are for an antivirus detection, because generally speaking, the command and control server will have shut down before the antivirus figures out what it is. So that's not a solution. So what you can do, and ideally, if you have a second computer or have someone who does and a flash drive, best thing to do is go to Microsoft's website, use the Microsoft Media Creation tool on a separate computer, and then boot into the BIOS. If you're unable to do that, and this is definitely a subpar option, you can reset.
See, it's trying to...
And that's what this will do. Now make sure, if you're going this route, unplug the Ethernet cable or turn off Wi-Fi.
Sketchy, right?
Because if you're ratted, they can try and intercept. But if you're able to do that, this should solve your problem. The reason I say should is because it is theoretically possible to embed malware into that image, but I've never seen malware that actually does that. And once it's rebooted, it's out of the old installed and it's into the Windows installer.
Ik ben Ellen, freelance IT'er en met ING bankier ik online op mijn ritme. Zoals nu, snel een krediet aanvragen, een bedrijfswagen leasen en mijn financiën beheren. Bankieren op het ritme van je zaak met ING Business? Slim. Open gratis je rekening op ing.be/zakelijke rekening.
Why is it symbols?
So then the final thing to address is, okay, we fixed the computer, but what about everything that was stolen?
I guess
and that is the worst thing about being ratted or having your info stolen is there is no putting the genie back in the bottle. First of all, I explain what you certainly should not do. What you should not do is pay ransom or pay someone not to release your information or use your information. That is a complete waste of time and money. So what should you do? Well, in order of priority, if you have any cryptocurrency wallets, first thing you do, get money out of there and somewhere that was not on the computer that was hacked. That's priority number one if it applies to you, because that can be stolen irretrievably. It's probably already happened if you ran a stealer, but if you're lucky and you caught it quickly, maybe you can save that. Next step, online accounts. The most important online account that can be used to get into any of your others is your email accounts. If your email account is compromised, any online account you have should be reasonably expected to be compromised. So, if you have Gmail, change the password. Regardless of if you have two-factor authentication, then what you want to do is go to your sessions, and on Google this is easy, and sign out every device. The combination of that will get the attacker out of your Google account. If you have another email provider, the steps for that may vary a bit. Another thing you should do is check your email client for filters. Depending on how your email client works, this may be a different setup. On Gmail, it's pretty easy to find. What you want to look for is emails from certain sites being either blocked or forwarded somewhere. This is another trick to hide the activity. If you see any filters you don't remember creating or don't want, delete them. Once that's done, now you should go to your online accounts, go through every single one that you were either logged into or had ever saved credentials for on that computer, and change the password. I strongly recommend using a password manager to do this rather than doing it manually so that you can have randomly generated secure password. With that said, if you had a password manager on the computer that was just hacked, you need to change every single password in it and change the master. Benefit of having a password manager is this has now become much easier, and many of them can automatically change many websites for you. Once that is done, the final thing you should probably do if you had credit cards saved in Chrome or anywhere else that they might have been intercepted is call your bank and have them cancel any credit or debit cards that were on that computer and get new ones. The benefit of that is if they were to try and repurpose your credit cards, it wouldn't work. I would also suggest being very diligent for suspicious transactions, and if you made the fateful decision of storing identity documents not encrypted on your computer, you may also want to look into anti-identity theft services. I don't know much about that industry, so I don't have recommendations to make, but I would recommend doing it. So that is going to be all this video. I hope it was helpful. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe, and tell me in the comments below if you have any other tips for dealing with this. I am going to make a few more videos on this subject, because I think it's something that a lot of people are interested in. Bye!
Elk kwartier wordt interessant met Het Kwartier, de podcast van VRT Nieuws.
Almost 3 billion people have never logged on to the internet. They've never taken advantage of Google, YouTube, or the AI tools we use today.
Let them be happy.
Online jobs, conversations, and equal opportunities. And we have missed out on their potential. At giveinternet.org, you can sponsor internet fees and
but no, it's not even really true anymore.
Communities and refugee camps.
A lot of this stuff already
provide skills development programs like coding, design, healthcare, and entrepreneurship. Thanks to these programs, most of our students either find a job, freelance, or start their own businesses or initiatives. On our platform, you can read the story of
This is the volume control on your phone. Pretty standard. This is 100% power, this is 50%, and this is 0. And well, this is a lie. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You're trying to listen to your guilty pleasure song, so you want a really low volume. You're at 0. You press the button and damn it, it's already too loud. If I have a volume control and I put it at 50%, logically it should output 50% of the sound power of the speaker or the headphones. See, the way you perceive sound is not linear, it's logarithmic. Yeah, those things that you studied in high school. So to build a volume control that feels linear and smooth to your ears, you need to map the sound power that the speaker outputs to your linear control with a specific exponential curve. But if you're listening to headphones or speakers, this changes the curve, so you need a different curve, and this is why some volume controls feel completely off. Because dealing with all of this, it's a huge pain in the ass. Apple and Google realized this, and now on iOS and Android, they use different exponential curves to make the volume feel linear and smooth. But you know who didn't do their homework? YouTube.
Apple.
If you're on desktop, try to play around with the volume slider. It does basically nothing from here to here, and all the volume control is in the last 10%. Behind the things you do every day with your tech that seems so simple and straightforward, there's a secret world of design, engineering, psychology, tricks that play with your mind, and once you understand what is actually going on, I promise you, you'll never look at your tech the same way again. But let's start simple, because sometimes the simplest solution is the hardest one to find. This is the Nintendo Switch. You can detach the two Joy-Cons on the sides and use them individually as controllers. Pretty cool. But if you want to play in a more traditional way, you can connect them to this plastic grip. But Nintendo had a problem. See, each Joy-Con had LED indicators on the side, right here. But if you slide them in the grip, then you cannot see them anymore. So how do you make the battery level of the Joy-Cons show up in the main grip? For real, I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it. Now, many may say, oh, I'll put some LEDs on the grip, maybe some contacts to transfer power from the Joy-Con to the grip. Or we can put a battery in the grip and then we can connect them with Bluetooth. These are all very modern, high-tech solutions, that's great. But what Nintendo did is the most stupid, but at the same time, genius solution. They just used a mirror. Inside the grip there are tiny mirrors at a 45-degree angle, and they reflect light from the LEDs to show up on the front of the grid. That's it. The most low-tech solution, the most seemingly stupid one, but in the end, is the cheapest one, and it just works. Like this one. This is the Zenith Space Command TV remote from 1956. And this thing has no batteries, no electronic circuits, nothing. Because it defies the most high-tech solution for a simple one. Under each button there's a different size rod, and once you press the button hitting the rod, it acts as a tuning fork, creating a high-pitched frequency that's inaudible to humans but that a receiver and the TV can pick up. Basically, it's as if each button is a different note on the guitar, just a guitar that you cannot hear. But arguably the most important mind trick in tech, and one that we've been using for over 100 years, is the one that you're looking at right now. And it's how our brains perceive motion on a screen. So if you are on a computer, try to shake your mouse cursor really fast. You'll see that it almost looks like there are multiple mouse cursors on the screen.
240
but are there? Let's
FPS,
slow down.
it's all
I swear
but you
there were
don't see
many
that on the
cursors,
stream.
but looking at the recording, there's just one. See, when you start to mix motion on a screen and our human brains, that's when things get weird. This video is in 30 FPS, and this ball looks smooth. But watch what happens when I speed it up. It starts to look choppy, because it's not about how many frames per second are on the screen, it's about what is actually displayed. The problem here is that between these two frames, there's too much difference. We can actually solve this without you throwing
I'm
your
already
screen
in a
the
different
trash,
folder.
with some help from unexpected places. Mordor, for example. Let's pause this scene from The Lord of the Rings. You can see here that all moving elements are not frozen in time. They all have motion blur, and this gives our brains the idea of motion. So we can apply the same principle to our animation, and without changing the frame rate, oh, now it looks smoother. The other place we can steal from is Bikini Bottom. Ugh. What is this? Well, this is a smear frame. It's a single frame of animation that deforms the subject as it moves. And at full speed, deforming the subject gives the idea of motion. And again, we can use the same principles in our animation to make it feel smoother and more fluid. Apple actually uses this principle in the iPhone home screen. When you open an app, the animation stretches the app itself to give the illusion that the animation is smoother. But not all cool things are hidden like this inside animation frames, because weirdness in tech is everywhere. Like here, this is a button that you look at probably every single day, and just showing this button costs its company more than $10 million every year. I bet they're feeling really lucky. Yes, I'm talking about the Google I'm feeling lucky button. If you're like me, you press that button maybe once or twice in your life, and that's why it's still here. See, for this page, the homepage of Google, flow $175 billion a year of ad revenue. So every single pixel on this page is optimized to the extreme to make money. Google even went to the length of testing 50 different shades of blue to see which one people clicked on the most on links. But the I'm feeling lucky button is still here. And if you click it, It allows you to skip all the ads and go straight to the website, so Google doesn't make any money. In 2007, Google said that less than 1% of queries pass through the I'm feeling lucky button. So even if we assume a conservative 0.01%, with 2023 Google search revenues, we get a total of $17.5 million. So why do they keep it? And according to Marissa Mayer, an ex-Google executive, it keeps Google a tiny bit more human. I just don't know if that's worth $17.5 million. But I'm feeling lucky is far from the only thing in tech that is there for a weird reason. The solitaire game on Windows. This is the most beloved app by lazy middle-aged office workers. But it's not a chance they added this specific game to Windows in 1990. See, back then, the mouse was something new. Believe it or not, people needed to be taught how to use the mouse. So Solitaire was purposely designed so that you needed to drag and drop the cards using the mouse, effectively teaching people how to use it. And if you think, come on, who needs the tutorial for a mouse? Well, this is one of the onboarding screens for Windows XP in 2001, teaching you all about the wonderful world of the mouse. And I thought video games tutorial were annoying. And if you're able to go through the very challenging mouse tutorial, today you might see this, the Windows spinning wheel. This is a cool animation. It's probably a GIF or small looping video that a designer made. Well, no, this is a font. Yeah, just like Times New Roman or Comic Sans, it's called Segue Boot Semilight, and each character of the font is a single frame of this animation. They did this so this thing can be ultra optimized and run with no lag or stuttering on basically every device imaginable. And this also means that, yeah, you can now text to your crush using Windows loading screen font. This, ladies and gentlemen, is peak level Riz. But the hardest thing about building tech is not to find this or that crazy hack, or even building something incredibly complex. It's dealing with the most unpredictable, counterintuitive and annoying part of tech. Us, humans, and our fucking weird psychology. So has this ever happened to you? You're doing something, it has been taking forever, and the progress bar is stuck at 99%. And here it says it's taking 5 minutes, and then it becomes 35, and then 40, and then 3, and this goddamn thing is never accurate. So let's try to fix that. How hard can this be? Let's just throw in a spinning wheel and call it a day. Well, no, we're starting now to receive complaints from people that think the computer is frozen or it's not responding. And that's because progress bars are actually important. They give us the information that, hey, something is happening, things are moving. This only makes you want to rage quit. Okay, so let's create a progress bar that counts the files we have to move and updates when each file has been moved. But then when we have a giant file and a bunch of small ones, this breaks. Okay, let's count the total size in megabytes and then see where we're at. Well, this also doesn't work because copying many small files takes a bit more time than copying one giant file of the same size. Oh, and now our users want to know how much time it takes, so let's calculate an estimate. But this estimate is also wrong because now maybe we started another file transfer, so the first one will go slower. So let's use a rolling average to get less 10 seconds instead. And designing a simple, plain progress bar has turned into a nightmare. And to this day, there is no solution.
What was the
this is also why when you see a
how did I go to first person view? I
like
don't know.
in these scammy sites, it paradoxically feels weird and wrong. Now, it's clear that I love to discover the secrets, the complexity, and the craft behind the tech I use. This is Raycast, one of my favorite tools and also the sponsor of this video. And this is their website. Damn, this is cool. They could have gone with a random image like all websites do, but instead, they are like,
Everything is
boys,
perfect.
let's make an incredibly cool animation based on our logo, and by the way, let's make it interactive so it changes depending on where you move the mouse. See, the design engineering team behind this tried different ideas for the homepage of Raycast, but none of them were really clicking. Any normal person would slap on an image and call it good. I mean, this was already quite cool. But no, that wasn't enough. So he started playing around with the logo in the 3D tool supply, and he realized that you can get some pretty cool
Smoke some hashish.
and have some 3D bars of glass in between the logos.
Wait,
and then
there must be another way.
Playground
This
to
one
tweak
need not
every
die.
single parameter about the 3D visualization, including colors, movement, and distortion. And after many trials, they nailed the version that you find
An excellent
on the
skill.
website. And people
Fortune
liked it so
favors
much
your
that
blade.
what was supposed to be
Not
just
fortune,
an image for a website
skill.
turned into
Watch a while
super
longer and you
cool
might
movie
learn
or
something.
To me,
Indeed.
this is amazing.
His
This is
teach
what
you how
makes
to
the
disregard
difference
everything
between
the
those
masters
that just
taught us.
do
How would
things
you have done
and
it?
those that take the
I would
time
not
and
have drawn
effort
attention
to
to
really
us.
craft
I would not have taken the life of an innocent. What I would have done is follow the creed.
Nothing is true. Everything is
permitted.
Understand these words. Matters not how we complete our task, only that it's done.
But this is not the way I was.
My way is better.
Type where I want my windows to go, like left,
Our scout
right,
ahead.
or even more complex
Try
things
not to
like
dishonor us
almost
further.
maximize. And I can build my workspace like that.
What is
I
our
use
mission?
Spotify for this.
My
So I
brother would
install
say
Spotify
nothing to me.
extension from the store.
Only that I should be
Now I
honored
can
to have
search,
been
plug
invited.
in, do everything.
The master believes
so
the Templars have found
I
something
use
beneath the
different
Temple
apps
Mount.
for making visuals like Photoshop, Figma,
I do not
Premiere,
know.
After Effects, and I
All
have
that
a
matters is
defined
the
set of
master
colors
considers
that I
it
use for
important.
my channel's branding.
Else he
So
would
I
not
save
have asked
each
me to
color on a
retrieve it.
snippet in Raycast, so I can just type and have them available in every app in 2 keystrokes. And finally, I'm using Raycast to access all the main AI models like Claude 3.5 or GPT-4o without having to jump through different websites, but having them all directly.
Can I save or something? So I can go back.
You can access more advanced features like AI, but Raycast is completely free to use. Try to the link in the description so they know that I sent you. And I'm putting 15 discount codes in the description for the premium version. But now let's get back to the video because there's much more that hides behind the tech we use. And
How do
not
I-
just in the software, but in the physical devices as well. Let me show you. This is a PlayStation 5. Pretty familiar, but let me ask you this. Does it look premium? I remember the first time I saw one in real life, before even touching or playing with it, it gave me the idea of a very cheap product. Or
In 5, yeah.
this monitor. Does it look premium or cheap? Well, there's a reason why. Even though you probably cannot articulate it right now. And the reason is this. The centerpiece in the PS5 is made of plastic. It's a pretty standard material used in many products. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is that this is a very large plastic surface, but with a shiny finish. See, the main technique used to mass-produce plastic is called injection molding. You pour hot liquid plastic into a mold to get the shape you want. You dry it so it hardens, and you have your base. But the only problem is that plastic dries at different speeds in different parts of the mold. So this creates these imperfections. You can see them as the light hits the plastic in different ways. If the plastic is matte, you don't really see them. But if your piece is large enough and it has a shiny finish, this is what you get. And it makes your product feel cheap. And this is also why in the renderings, the PS5 uses more sleek and futuristic.
How do I go down again?
Reality and manufacturing products kick in. And once you realize this, you start to see it everywhere. So remember how in high school you learn all that boring calculus and physics? I mean, what even is a derivative? Well, that boring stuff is more meaningful than you think. And it's in weird places you don't expect. Take a look at these. Recognize them? This is Minecraft, and this is Toy Story. But can you see it? It's right there. No? Both Minecraft and Toy Story use the same piece of seemingly boring math, and without it, they wouldn't exist. This is Pixar's first short from 1984. Now, why does it look fake?
Oh my god.
Sure, the 3D models are not very detailed, lighting could be a bit better, but all the surfaces look flat. They look too perfect. You take a modern movie like WALL-E, on every surface there's depth, imperfections. This is what makes it real. Now, you cannot add fully random imperfections. Those are
Being no.
You want something that looks random, but that still has
More drinking and
randomness. And then there's Notch, who was working on a small indie game called Minecraft. And he had a problem. He needed to generate terrain, like hills, caves, mountains, so he tried to make every block a random block. But you end up with something like this. It doesn't work. He needed organized randomness. See, both Toy Story and Minecraft use the exact same piece of math called Perlin noise, a mathematical function that generates this thing, a random black and white hue. It's not too random, but also not too simple. It's organized random. In Minecraft, for example, Notch took the lightness of each pixel in the Perlin noise and
So how the fuck do I walk? Like slowly.
Pixar, video game studios, and basically anything you see that's made
Could I go to the ground?
in some shape or form to add texture and imperfections to plain surfaces, or even to make things like fire look more random or simulate water. And math is behind more things than you realize. They don't need to be as complex as Perlin noise. The golden ratio,
Don't be
the
silly.
ratio between the
There's no
numbers
such
of the
thing.
Fibonacci
It's just a
sequence
story.
is
Then what
approximately
is it?
1.618. If you take a look for example, the iCloud icon from Apple,
Through this gate before sunrise.
all the circles
sooner
have
we possess
relative
it,
diameters.
the sooner we can
to
turn our
ratio.
attention.
Is you a Frenchman?
You might think, wow,
Robert
creating
de Sable.
successful tech
His
products
life is
so
mine.
hard. You need to
No.
insane knowledge
We
of
were asked to
design,
retrieve
engineering,
treasure and
psychology,
deal with
and
Robert
yeah,
only if
that's true.
necessary.
But then, why do even
It stands between us and it. I'd say it's necessary.
Discretion, Altair.
You mean cowardice. That man is our greatest enemy.
Altair is over in Poland.
You have already broken 2 tenets of our creed. Now you would break the 3rd. Do not compromise the Brotherhood.
I am your superior in both title and ability. You should know better than to question.
No matter what. Take Microsoft Word. People kept asking Microsoft for one feature after another. Please, I need advanced formatting. I want proofreading. And Microsoft, listen, until Word became so bloated, complex, and full of stuff that it was a pain to use. But companies like Notion or many of these new note-taking organization tools took a different approach. Instead of listening to what user was saying, they just observed it. And that's when they saw that, oh, 95% of times people just use Word to take notes, write basic to-dos, and manage their daily lives. And what they struggle on is sharing and organizing them. And no user would tell you this. No user would tell you, hey, I need a minimalist app with databases and cloud sync, but just by looking at what people did and distilling their real problems, Notion is now a $10 billion company. This is how we got some of the most useful and genius features ever. In Gmail, they observed that people realized they made a mistake in the first
Can I not climb on? I remember climbing on the wall.
the ability to undo the send in the first 60 seconds to save a painful mistake. On iPhone, they observed that people were going back and forth to paste one-time codes they got via SMS. While now, iOS does this automatically.
Can't even go far.
Suck at innovating, but they are
Can't even run. How do?
problems that the next billion-dollar company is gonna solve. So yeah, it all comes down to who can.
See, they keep limiting and moving everything.
Now, let me tell you something that happened to me yesterday. I was replying to emails from my raving fans when I noticed something annoying. I was trying to add an attachment, but I kept clicking on this other icon. This adds a link to email. These two actually look kind of similar from a distance. But let's start with this one.
Old Templars, you are not the only ones with business here.
Here's why.
Well,
What
this
is
explains my
This is a
missing
floppy
man.
disk. Although for most
And
people,
what is it
it's
you
the save
want?
icon. The save icon became a thing when floppy disks were everywhere. If you used a computer, you knew for sure what a floppy disk was.
Blood.
So that's where the icon comes from. And why it's stuck. Today, most young people haven't probably ever seen a floppy disk. I barely used them when I was a kid. The icon is the
Only that you may
thing.
return to your master
Now
and
it's
deliver a
simply
message.
the save icon.
The Holy Land is lost to heaven's east. He should flee now while he has the chance. Stay, and all of you will die.
Understanding what's going on in this country until this icon before, or this, or what about this one? These are all icons for share. Sharing is something we do every day, but we never ended up with one true universal icon for it. See, on average, we take 500 milliseconds
How the
more
fuck do I say?
familiar icon than a familiar one. So much so
I'll
that
get it full screen again.
go back to text instead of the icon. Take even this very screen you're on in YouTube. Liking something has a universal icon, the thumbs up. So there's no label, it's self-explanatory. On the other hand, subscribing, and especially subscribing to my channel, doesn't have a familiar and universal enough icon, and that's why they left it as text. And only once you subscribe, you see the icon for notifications, which is a very familiar and universal bell. But there's something else that's going on that's pretty weird, and you probably noticed it as well. Today, the worse something is, the more we seem to like it. Aesthetics have become messy and weird. We prefer idiotic nonsense memes to professionally shot ads. Bad things are everywhere. And as it turns out, there is a very specific reason why. And you can learn all about it in this video right here. I'm Enrico, and I'll see you in the next one.
Maak je eindejaar onweerstaanbaar met Deleuze. Want bij Deleuze vind je een
Any
uitgebreid
treasure
assortiment
there?
aan heerlijke feestproducten. Zoals van die lekkere apero-hapjes. En zalm met zo'n zachte zilte smaak. Sorry, ik kon er even niet aan weerstaan. Onweerstaanbare feestproducten, nu in je Deleuze.
This is the battery percentage on your phone. It's what you look at when you want to get your daily dose of activity. And it's also a complete lie. You see, your phone cannot just ask the battery, yo, where you at? 69%. Huh, nice. The battery just cannot know how much percentage it has inside. So what are we gonna do? First, let's try to check the voltage of the battery. That'll do. Well, no, because the voltage changes depending on the temperature and what you're doing right now. So, okay, new plan. We're gonna count every single drop of energy that goes in and goes out. this is called Coulomb counting. And if we know when we are, say, at 100%, then we can add or subtract the energy and we'll know the percentage, right? Well, no, because any minimal error in this counting compounds and make this totally unreliable. Also, batteries degrade differently depending on how you use the phone. So now we need predictive machine learning algorithms to look at how you use your phone for the last years and try to predict the discharge. So the simple percentage is just a guess. It's the best your phone can come up with after an ungodly amount of complexity behind it. And 99.9% of people just take it for granted. Just like how the iPhone screen is actually not a rounded rectangle like it seems. Or how the Spotify shuffle is not actually random. Or how there's one single pixel that is responsible for making Macs feel much more premium than Windows computers. And don't worry, we're gonna cover all of these. Because behind even the simplest thing that you can ever do, there's a secret world of design decisions, crazy engineering, and you cannot. Let's start with the stupidest thing.
Altair,
you have a text editor, and you need to build the navigation that lets you move around.
It is good to see you unharmed.
The text.
I trust your mission was a success.
So we are here on the floor.
Is the master in his tower?
Arrow up.
Yes, yes, buried in his books as always. No doubt.
We jump to the left. Well, as it turns out,
thanks, brother.
letters don't have
safety
the same
and
width.
peace
L is taking way less
on you
space
as well.
than a W, so this doesn't work. Okay, new plan. Let's look at the horizontal spacing between letters, and I will write an algorithm that calculates what is the closest letter in the row above. So when I hit arrow up, I will go there. Nice, we did it. But damn it, now if I change my mind and I hit arrow down on the keyboard, I end up in a different place. Okay, so I'm still gonna use the shortest distance algorithm, but I will also keep a memory of where I was in the row below. So if I hit arrow down again, I'm back in the right place. Alright, but now if I move 2 letters to the left and then I go down, I'm still at the old place. And we haven't even looked at different fonts and different sizes, and something as simple as moving through text turns out to be an absolute nightmare. Sometimes the complexity is not serious, come to human. This is the shuffle button. You probably use it every day on Spotify or wherever you use it. It doesn't work like you think it does because it's not actually random. This is the Apple Shuffle. It was actually my first Apple phone. And since it had no screen, it relied heavily on the shuffle function. But a lot of people complained to Apple that Apple Shuffle was broken because it wasn't random. It kept playing songs. But as it turns out, this is what random means. Because this is random, also this is random. They're both possible permutations. So in order to make the shuffle feel more random, Apple ended up making it less random by introducing Smart Shuffle, a way to actively avoid having similar songs together.
So what we've added is Smart Shuffle to actually make it less random, even though people will think it's random.
And yes, services use Aid do need to do this as well. Even Spotify naively started with a completely random shuffle, but they faced the effects. So today, to make something as simple as shuffle, they adapted a complex image engineering algorithm, shuffle songs. And all of this, you don't have to listen to Kanmei Nimer Make. There's something you probably look at every day for hours and hours. Then something most people measure. If you're an iPhone user, this is what you look at. Nice app created. But what if I told you that this is not a rubber band? These wraps are actually not square. Don't believe me? This shape is called a square. It's an in-between shape between a circle and a square. Apple uses squircles throughout all of their design systems, and they use this shape instead of rounded rectangles because it's a much more natural shape, and it hides the transition between the rectangle and the circle, making it visible. And guess what? Since the latest iPhone models use the dynamic island, which is, you guessed it, also a squircle, even the shape of the display of the latest iPhones is in fact a squircle. Everything is perfectly aligned and perfectly aligned. And if you want to flex at the next party, this is the math function of the squircle. So yeah, everyone will know.
Alright, I thought my
Over
bad.
time, tech companies have understood that designing products for human psychology is not an afterthought, but it's the most powerful tool they have. And it can list some genius features, but also to some pretty stupid ones. So let's play a flash round of genius design versus stupid. First is pull to refresh. You know when you drag down the top of a list to refresh? This was originally developed by Loren Brichter for the Twitter app Tweety. And since Twitter bought Tweety, Twitter actually today owns the technology. But today this gesture is so woven into the way we use technology that they just let everyone use it. Because it just works so well. It's incredibly intuitive.
Do not crawl.
So this definitely falls into the genius category. But today this feature is used by the biggest...
I am the mean Altair of the forest.
Scrolling feeds, like Instagram, that shows you something new every time you refresh. And this is a key component in creating that feeling of addiction.
Oh, I almost did it. Oh.
This one feature is probably responsible for billions of dollars of value for these companies due to the extra engagement. So it's genius, yes.
I feel bad for...
Next up is YouTube. It has recently decided that a great feature to launch is one that shows you videos that have a certain...
Two of them, I think.
So you can choose among one of 3 colors and explore...
Oh, I keep forgetting how I ran.
No one ever woke up feeling like, oh, when I watch you...
Yeah, sinking. I need a flag. I want to know a flag.
Okay, so what is the biggest problem of mapping applications like Google Maps? For me, Google Maps is one of the most fascinating, well-made, useful apps ever made. But it has one specifically annoying problem that we all experienced at least once. Google Maps is, well, a map. And touchscreens are
Why can't I lock it?
maps because your finger can move around. Great. But zooming in still requires you to do the pinch, and it requires 2 hands. And when we use maps, we are usually in the car or riding a bike, and this is the worst possible time to require users to pinch stuff. So you end up doing this weird with one hand to zoom in. But actually in Google Maps, you can double tap and drag your finger up and down, and this allows you to zoom in and out with one finger. First time I learned this, I was like, sorry, what? I felt like an idiot to be actually working in tech and not knowing this even existed. And this is the problem. This definitely 100% goes into the genius category. But this genius gesture is missing an affordance, a way for people to know that they can actually do that. In the real world, this is the equivalent of going in front of a glass door and not having a handle, so not knowing that you can even open it. So let's fix that. In this design, we detect when the user is actually zooming, and we show them how they can actually do the same action with the camera. But okay, come on, we've been harsh to YouTube the color content. So can they actually come up with a new genius feature? Well, look now below this video, because if I ask you to like this video or subscribe to my channel, the like button and the subscribe button will light up and animate to invite you to subscribe or like the video. Now, I haven't programmed this into this video settings. YouTube is transcribing this whole video, understanding what I'm saying, and they notice that creators are asking their audience to like the video or subscribe to support their channel. There's a feature that brings your attention. This is one that sounds stupid, but to me it's actually quite amazing. And by the way, but there's one item that you use every day that hides an incredible amount of weird.
Honoring the code is killing
More
me.
than 50 years. Your computer's keyboard. So let's start with the basics, with the question that each one of us asked our parents at least once when we were kids. Why isn't the keyboard in alphabetical order? The modern layout for keyboards is called QWERTY, because, you know, QWERTY. So if everyone in the world, millions of people are using this, it's because it's been designed to perfection, so you can type the fastest, be the most comfortable, and, well, QWERTY was designed so that the letters you type together are spread out. So that hammers on typewriters back in the day wouldn't get jammed when you went too fast. That's it. It's actually slow, inefficient, and uncomfortable. But when the first computers came about in the 1970s, and they had to add a keyboard, they just took the layout of what they had laying around, typewriters, and used that.
Meter
alternative layouts
maker.
that could be much faster to type on, like Dvorak or Kolomak.
You too?
Since the world is on QWERTY, it's basically impossible to do. And these layouts are reserved for people that think they're better than you because they are tweaking Dvorak on their Soviet era. But as it turns out, keyboards are becoming the new kid again. Originally, you could only interact with a computer via the keyboard. There was no mouse, and you had to do everything via a command, meaning you had to understand and remember dozens of complex commands.
Now, how did I put away?
Computers extremely difficult to use. But then came graphical user interfaces and the mouse, which allowed everyone to use it. So in the last 20 years, programs and apps.
How do I do the pushing? Pushing away.
And that's how most are. Recently, modern products have been making complicated. Because it's intuitive, but it's and people shortcuts a bit nonsense. But many modern products by making them the main way you interact and making you so much faster. The first thing our guys do is to hit Command T to invoke the command bar instead of clicking on the URL bar like in Chrome. Apps like Linear and Superhuman are built from the ground up using the Command K shortcut. It allows you to bring up a command bar and type anything to do every single action in the app, but without having to remember complex rules like 4 years ago. And the ultimate expression of this is
myself.
every day. When I reached out to them, they also agreed to sponsor this video. With Raycast, you can
I remember there were some flags. Oh, come on. Can't collect the flags.
What's that day of the week? There it is. You can do calculation. You can play
Why are there people still living here with such ruthless assassins? I know it protects the villages somewhere.
I had 7 different apps to do all of this stuff, but now I got rid of them all and I just use Raycast. Not enough? There's also a store for extensions, so you can add as much functionality as you want. And thanks to Raycast AI features,
See, I wish I had the full screen.
And since it's now running at a system level, it has context on what's going on with the computer. So go give Raycast a try at ray.so/Enrico. And I'll also put in the description 15 links you can use to grab a discount for the premium version as well. But I warn you, once you start using Raycast, touching your mouse will feel like ugh. But if you look down at your keyboard, there is probably some other weird stuff going on. Like, what the hell is this? Or this? Or this? What the hell are those and why are they on your keyboard? Well, as it turns out, these are relics from the past, but somehow
those are my friends.
Pause key was used during the days of command line computers. Pause glitches is insert key is used to type
There's a small one.
its purpose to toggle between regular types, the one that we are all used to, and something called overtype command, where any character you type overrides the existing one. Most people just hit this by accident and freak out when they type. And finally, the scroll lock key toggles a mode where supporting a document or a page is locked. So for example, when you use the arrow keys to move around the page, only the cursor moves and not the whole page. Now, are these completely useless? No, but do they really deserve their own key on the keyboard in 2024?
Not into mass.
But there's also a new kid in town. It's not computers, it's not phones, it's augmented reality and virtual reality.
Where are the others?
And it's getting more and
You
more
ride ahead hoping to be the first one back.
This
I
is
know
the
you are
upper
loath to share
and
the
this
glory.
is the meta quest. Notice anything? They all have their
Silence is just
very,
another
very
form of a sin.
Now, this is a
nothing
design
better to
trend
do.
that's been everywhere.
Bring word from the
There's
man.
a unique reason
He
that
waits
VR,
between the library.
headsets don't just
Well, that's why I killed all those other people.
No doubt you're eager to get to it. Another word now put my blade to your throat. There'll be plenty of time for that.
and which one is called Ruby. Most people would say
Indeed.
Tiki sounds more
Why are we supposed to hate that guy from the start?
scary. It reminds us of something dangerous, while Buba reminds us of
He's a big asshole.
and this is the psychological reason why we are seeing
Buba.
all kinds of things. In virtual and augmented reality, this effect is multiplied by 10 times. A perfectly sharp angle is not a form that is common. And what's it associated with? Danger, blades, weapons, something that's touchable. And if in the past you just computer screen was fine, but if you put them in the real space around you, have them behave as if they were really there, this is where making them sharper angles make them feel dangerous.
I feel like my square eye.
So this is why Windows and augmented reality need to have extreme knowledge. Sometimes what makes a difference is something extremely small as a single pixel. I've used Windows for a lifetime, but 2 years ago I switched to Mac, and there's something I do. This always looks better on Mac compared to Windows. And no, this is not about the high resolution screen. Text just looks more polished, more well-rounded, and this helps the Mac get more. And this about it in this video.
It is an honor.
Don't be too frank.
The master waits within.
Ik ben Hakim, zelfstandig dagwerker. En met ING bankier ik online op mijn eigen shopping, snelle krediet aanvragen, een kabinet leasen en een financiën beheer. Bankieren op bedrijfsorganisatie met ING Business, slim. Open gratis je rekening op ing.be/zakelijke rekening.
When does our work ever go as expected? It's our ability to adapt that makes us who we are.
This time was not enough.
I didn't know that.
I have failed you.
The treasure?
Lost tools.
I'm Robert.
Escaped.
My best man. A mission more important than any that has done before. And you returned to me with nothing but apologies and excuses.
I did.
Do not speak. Not another word. This is not what I expected. We'll need to mount another force.
I swear to you I'll find you. I'll go in.
No. You'll do nothing. You've done enough. Where are Merrick and Kadar?
Dead.
No! Not dead.
But before we explain how we did all that,
I still live at least.
And your brother?
The first startup that Steve Jobs
Because of you!
made was
Robert threw me from the room.
No, they were
There's no way
tackling
back.
different
Nothing I could do.
One where their product was actually
Because you would not heed
so
my
back in the
warning!
1970s,
All of this could have been avoided!
calls were really inexpensive.
Brother,
Adjusted for inflation,
my brother would
a call
still
from
be
New York
alive!
to London could run you $55.
your arrogance simply cost us victory.
Arrogance, yeah.
Hear this?
And what it did was it hacked the
I want your favorite failed file. Here,
for free.
take it.
We were young.
So it seems I've returned with more than just the treasure.
That we could build something.
We are under attack. Robert de Sable is siege in Macias village.
So he seeks a battle. Very well. I'll not deny
I
you.
don't think there would have ever been
Go. Inform the others. Fortress must be prepared.
Yeah, we did call the Pope.
You are just discussion we have to make for the village. Destroy these invaders. Drive them from our home.
And they actually
will be
sent
done.
someone to wake up the Pope. Finally, because we're not allowed, we realized that we were Henry Kissinger. But how were they able to do all of this with one electronic box made from Radio Shack parts? Until the mid-1920s, most phones had no way of dialing. When your phone was on the hook, about 48 volts was connected from the exchange to your phone. Then when you lifted the receiver, an internal circuit connected the speaker and microphone, drawing power, and that caused the voltage to drop to around 10 volts. And at the telephone exchange, this drop turned on a light bulb, alerting the operator who would then pick up and ask who you're calling.
Boston.
Sarah, I get you the Bluebird Diner.
After consulting a directory, they would connect a wire between your line and your friends. Manually connecting calls was labor intensive. Operators had to handle
So this is saved, right?
one pundit said soon the telephone system will need to employ every 108 woman in the country as an operator. By 1950, there were more than 1 million of them in the US alone.
to reduce costs, companies sought to automate the call connection process. And one solution was the rotary dial telephone. You use it to place your finger in a number hole, rotate it to the end, and
Oh no, there are oh, 9 years ago posted. Some of this gets DMCA strike. Oh, I know the wait, Dorothy could no. Yeah, I know this one. Where's the presenter? There. John Daly. John. We'll find out. Please don't DMCA strike. Should almost be. This should be public domain kind of. Even the commercials.
Now let's all play What's My Line?
Now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in the New York Journal American and papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, we have a charming visitor and one I know you'll be very glad to see on the panel tonight, that attractive humorist, Mr. Sam Levinson.
And on my left, the sweetest thing you can find in a refrigerator, Miss Betty Furness.
And on my left, author, publisher, columnist, and dear man, Bennett, sir.
Thank you, buddy. When I walked into the theater tonight, for a minute I thought I was in the wrong theater. But I'm glad to see a standby along with these two attractive guests. Dorothy Kilgallen practically isn't here either. She's up in the clouds somewhere because Ernest Hemingway said she was one of the great reporters of the country. And that's praise from Caesar. Well, we also have on our left our old standby who makes the panel seem right. Buncey's father, John Charles Daly.
Daly, yeah.
My daughter Buncey has a new favorite man, and his name is Bennett Cerf. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. We have two good friends with us tonight on the panel, and it gives us a chance not only to test Bennett and Dorothy, but let's see what Sam and Betty Furness can do with some very interesting occupations and some very nice guests. We'll have a famous guest challenger a bit later on, but now I think it's time for our panel of experts to meet the first challenger whose job has to be spotted. So would you sign in, please, ma'am? Pearl.
Wow.
Pearl Snell, is that right? Is it Miss Snell?
Miss Snell.
Miss Snell, where are you from, Miss Snell?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
You may know, the panel having had a chance to meet you briefly, see your handwriting and hear your voice, we give them one free guess as to what your line may be. We begin the free guesses with Miss Kilgallen.
I think she's an underwater swimmer.
An underwater swimmer, Mr. Levinson.
I think she's the vice president of a piggy bank.
Miss Burnett.
I think she's a nurse in a shirt hospital.
Mr. Sir.
I think she runs a motel down in Fort Lauderdale.
No, I'm afraid nobody has it. We'll let our viewers have a further look at Miss Pearl Snell. At the same time, we'll tell them what her line is.
Oh.
Miss Snell, you know how we score this operation? Every time you can give them a big fat no, I'll flip the card. 10 flips and you're in. All set? Okay, Miss Snell is salaried. With that, we will begin the general questioning with Bennett, sir.
Miss Snell, do you do your work in Florida?
Yes.
Around Fort Lauderdale?
Yes.
Is there a product connected with what you do?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
When you deal in services? In services?
You deal in services.
Yes.
Do you work for a profit-making organization?
Yes.
Do you work out of doors at all?
Yes.
Do you wear anything that's different
Let me
from...
have a small conference. All right. Let's carry on.
He doesn't work...
Learn something every day.
He works out of doors at all.
Yes, he does work out of doors at all.
You also work indoors, then, I gather from the conference.
Yes.
Do you wear anything that is different from an ordinary dress? Is there
Yes.
something distinctive about it?
Yes, it could be. I mean, it's different from ordinary streetwear, yes.
Could it be called in any sense a uniform?
Would it be called a uniform? No, I don't know.
No.
Would it be called a uniform? 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Levinson.
Do people come to you for this service?
Yes.
They'd come to engage his service, you know. That's...
They would come to engage her service. Do you deal with both men and women?
Yes.
Do you deal more with one than the other?
No.
You don't.
I would say I think in balance probably it would be about equal, although there might be an imbalance for a period of time you would get back into. Yeah, 3 down and 7.
Does your work have anything to do with educating people?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Sir.
Miss Now, Fort Lauderdale is a great vacation resort. Do you deal with the vacationers who come down there in any way?
Sometimes.
It's also on the water. Does your work get you anywhere near the Atlantic Ocean?
Sometimes.
But the suit that the costume that you wear, am I correct then in saying that it is not a bathing suit or something that is used for going into the water?
Yes, it's not a bathing suit,
Not a
no.
bathing suit. Well, do you have anything to do with any creatures who come from the deep in the shape of fish or alligators?
Isn't that the darndest thing? Man, how did you ever get that idea? That's wrong. That's fine. 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Gilgallen.
Miss Snell, the people who come to you, do you do anything to them physically? Do you touch them?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Levinson.
Do you make people happier in any way doing this?
Well,
You'd like to think so, don't you?
yes, I like to think so.
Do you do this, whatever you're doing, standing up?
Yes.
Does the other party, is there another person involved in this when you do it?
No.
No, not
You do it all by yourself?
Yeah, she does it all by herself. There could be other people around, but what she does by herself.
Nice
7
way to
down
make a living.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Burnett.
Do you entertain in any fashion?
Entertain in any fashion. That makes it 8 down and 2 to go.
Miss Now, you wouldn't have anything to do with selling tickets to anything or having anything to do with taking care of people who come to see an orange farm or a horse race or something like that?
No.
9 down and 1 to go, Miss Gilgallen.
Miss Snell, do you use your voice in your work?
You mean as a specific working part of the work? Hmm?
Just as she ever taught.
No, Dorothy, we don't want to mislead. You mean as a part of the
know
work.
you don't, John.
A big part, yeah. No more to go. This is going to hurt because actually what we did was to pull a ringer on you. This is an occupation. It's going, you could have plucked it out of the air. But it's unlikely that perhaps you think Miss Snell does it. She's a plasterer. We thought, my heaven, we never heard of it. She's the only woman plasterer in the North American continent with a union card, and she's plastering now for the Key Plastering Company down in Florida for the Mackle Construction Company. See that? We got all the details.
So a lot of ladies plastering here now.
Well, I must say that you tied the panel in knots. We hope you had fun. It was grand having you on What's My Line. Good night, man.
Seems like Kanmei.
Second challenger, would you come in and sign in, please, sir? Daniel.
All of them can write, so they
Daniel
learn it longer in school. I guess I'm shocked.
Where are you from, Mr. Dragle?
Chicago.
Chicago? Illinois. Is there another one?
Not that I know of.
Boy, this is going to get you a lot of letters. I know there must be another 6. Every time I try this, I find out there is at least a dozen. Every town in the country has a dozen other towns with the same name. The panel over there, sir, would be benefited if they had a closer look at you, and if you feel up to it, would you go over and let them have a closer look? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Canvas Dragon?
Good evening.
Hi.
Hello, Mr. Dragon.
All right, Mr. Dragle, over here, if you will, sit down next to me, and the panel will get that one free guess that it's got coming to it. And we'll begin the free guesses with Miss Gilgallen.
I think he manufactures bathtubs.
Manufactures bathtubs, Mr. Levinson.
I think he's a talent scout for a reform school.
I think he owns a toll bridge.
Mr.
I think he makes garages wide enough for those 1954 cars to squeeze into.
No, I'm afraid not. We'll let our viewers have a further look at Mr. Dragle. At the same time, we'll tell them what his line is.
Oh. He could be very respectable, but he has a corrupted look about it. He's so angsty.
Mr. Drago, do you deal with both men and women?
Yes.
Does what you do make people happier?
No.
Sometimes.
Does it sometimes not make them happier?
Awful.
Are there some people who wouldn't be very glad to see you arrive on the premises?
Yes.
Do you deal with adults?
She's so fast. Sometimes
Yes.
she's so fast.
By any chance you work for
So
a
fast.
non-profit-making organization?
Yes.
So quick. Just
I
so.
hate to say this word, but do you have anything to do with taxes?
No.
Taxes?
Still.
No, ma'am.
Sometimes she can get it this fast. Like what
Could
the
I
heck?
come to you for your service? Yes.
Definitely.
When you get through with me, would I be in a different condition? No.
No, actually, Sam, he wouldn't change your condition. We'd have to give you a no on that. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Burnett.
Do you go two people in your work?
Beautiful.
Yes.
Conference. Proceed.
Do you wear a uniform?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Seth.
Mr. Drago, you said you worked for a non-profit-making organization. Do you work for some kind of a government?
Yes.
Is it a city government?
Yes.
Is it the city of Chicago?
Yes.
Do you do most of your work indoors?
Yes.
No. Oh yeah? Huh? What?
Has it anything whatever to do with the law enforcement division
Yes,
of
it has.
Chicago? It has?
Yes, sir.
Would you be a familiar figure around one of the courts in Chicago?
Fairly so.
But it is correct to say that you're not there all the time.
Yes.
Well, do you have anything to do with the conducting of any of the cases that take place in this court?
In a way.
But you are not one of the attorneys or presiding officer at these trials. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you ever have anything to do with putting up bail or anything like that for any people who come into the court?
No.
That makes it 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mr. Drago, you say you go to people and you go about in your work.
Occasionally.
Just occasionally.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that you are not an inspector of any kind?
No.
A city
Yes.
inspector. You're something else.
Yes.
This is with the specific application of inspector,
Yes.
charged with duties of inspection.
Have we established whether Mr. Drago wears a uniform in his work? He does not wear a uniform.
It
Is
has
that
been
correct?
established that he does not wear a uniform, Marty.
When you are not in court, are you in an office?
Yes.
Do you have anything to do with children ever?
No.
No, not in his work. 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Levinson.
Do you have anything to do with summonsing people to get them to court? No.
6 down and 4 to go, Miss Burnett.
Can people come to you for advice?
Hardly. I'd say no to that question.
Well, we'll have a small conference. Mr. Dragle is willing to stretch a point. Actually, I don't think we could say that they come for advice, but they might get something that could be beneficially called advice as a result of his labors.
Is your work disciplinary?
No.
Joe.
I don't think he's ever arrested anybody.
No, actually, if Mr. Dragle will permit, I would say that there is in
Definitely.
a sense, a disciplinary function, although he may not have to exercise it directly himself. Would you buy that?
Yes, I'll take that.
All right, Miss Perez, continue.
Thank you. That confused me utterly.
That's what we were hoping.
Do you observe people?
Yes.
Is that the nature of your job, observing people?
No.
No, I'm going to give you one more minute to get this because I don't think you're getting close to it. 7 down and 3 to go, Mr.
Mr.
Sir.
Drago, would people be more apt to see you if they're convicted than if they're acquitted?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well, are you an investigating officer of any kind?
No.
No, not as such, Dorothy. 9 down and 1 to go, Mr. Levinson.
Do you participate in court trials at all? Is your presence required? Yes. Do you have a police capacity within the courtroom? Yes.
Police capacity
Do
within
we
the
have a
court.
conference?
You may have
Maybe
10
he'll be like a
seconds.
fingerprint or ballistics expert. Laboratory.
You ask.
Maybe he is.
He reads the says court.
Yes, yes. Quick. Does he help to bring sort of bring the court to order? Is he a court attendant of some kind?
Ah, there you go, Stan. That makes it 10 down.
What do you need me to do?
This is a tough one. We
Distract
thought that
the
perhaps
tempers.
you might just
Keep them occupied
lean
while I
in this
rescue those
direction
two
after
trapped
the
inside.
holiday season.
As you wish.
Actually, Sergeant Drago tests auto drivers for intoxication for the Chicago Police Department.
That's the only thing.
Oh, did I kill my friends constantly? Oops.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Mr. Daly, and my thanks to Commissioner O'Connor, Commissioner of Police of Chicago, for the privilege of appearing before What's My Line.
Well, our thanks to Commissioner O'Connor for letting you come and be with us. Nice to have you with us. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity. And for this particular part of the program, the panel has blindfolds. Are they all in place, panel? Good. Will you come in, mystery officer, and sign in, please? We get right down to the general questioning, which we will begin with,
Oh man.
Sam Levin.
Well, everybody knows you.
Why did you kill my
I
friend?
wish I could say the same.
Kill an innocent.
Talk with the area of entertainment, you in the entertainment industry.
Okay, because I keep forgetting how to run, I can save.
That means yes.
I just thought somebody stepped on your corn, John. Oh my goodness, well, you are in the entertainment industry, it means yes. Very good. I hope this is human.
Oh my god.
It may be.
Come on.
I just guess that you sound more like a woman than a man from that sound. Are you a woman? Goodness, my wife sounds like that.
Oh my god. There was a way I could dodge with this, or is that at the second one?
You're connected with television. Do you have a program that bears your own name?
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Burnett.
Does your television work come from the other coast? And we'll help you, John. That was a yes?
That was a yes.
Are you on regularly on television? You appear on evening shows? Do you play a part that's distinguished from appearing as yourself?
Fast forward in memory to a more recent one.
New Year's Eve again.
Have you also worked in the motion picture business? Are you still working in the motion picture business?
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Sir.
Would you be broadly defined as a comedian?
We've a surprise planned for our guests. Just do as I it should be done for us.
The most expressive laryngitis, I must say.
Has the program that you star in been running for quite a long time?
Is there a reason for this nonsense?
Are you a blonde on this program? any chance play the part of a secretary in a business establishment? I did too.
Could I have a conference with Bennett to find out who he met? Oh, okay. But you are blind. Have you ever appeared on the Broadway stage? Were you in a musical comedy?
You play a dangerous game!
I
assure you, this is no game.
Was it before 1945?
Bring forth the hostage!
Are you Eve Arden?
Eve Arden! Your village lays in ruins, and your stars are hardly endless. How long before your fortress crumbles from within? How disciplined will your men remain
I once
when the
appeared as
wells
a
run
mystery
dry
guest on a
and your
program.
food
I
is
do have
gone?
laryngitis, by the way.
My men do not fear
And I disguised my voice elaborately and raised it 2 octaves and used an accent. And 65 people phoned in and said it was Eve Arden. I think 65 people knew me, so I knew I couldn't smart cookies.
Well, I must say it's one of the most distinctive voices that any part of this great world of entertainment has ever known, and I think also one of the most loved. What brings you to New York?
Thank you. Well, every year we have to put on our shoes and come
That's
to
not
this city.
space, that's E.
Kind of farmers folk now.
Such lovely shoes, too. You just had a vacation. Well, good.
Vacation from 4 children at the moment.
That's one actually.
And it's wonderful to get back and see what's going on in the Broadway theater.
Well, I'm very glad that
You wonderful people. Yeah.
I'm very glad that you decided to come back, and muchly pleased that having come back, you decided to come and visit with us.
Well, thank you, John.
Great
It's a
having you
pleasure.
with us.
Go and release it. Rain death upon our enemies.
That was what I never analyzed it properly, but that was a stupid show of faith. I don't know. Kamikaze deserve more fear. Let me hold your hand, mister. Kill Gal, I'm guessing it in 2 minutes, maybe. I've seen a lot of those. Stop it. Stop odors now. Her poor armpits. Probably coated in aluminum and shit.
Yes.
Do people come to you?
Yes.
Do you come in physical contact with the people you come to? Do you touch them?
Yes.
Is this product small enough for me to lift with ease?
No.
One out of 90 go, Mr. Stern. Is this product, Mr. Hallman, that might be bought in a store?
Yes.
Could it be bought in a general department store?
Yes.
But it's not easily lifted.
No.
Is there metal in it?
Yes.
See, this is.
It contain something.
Yes.
Would it be very, very heavy?
Yes.
I have been let in.
A safe? Gee, we just ran out of time. That would have been no. Actually, we did this just for Betty. Get something to hold it.
Refrigerator.
What's the inside joke with Betty and refrigerator?
Betty, you can be sure that it's Westinghouse. Mr. Holman, thanks an awful lot for being with us. Sorry we couldn't get more time, but we tried it tonight. Sam Levinson and Miss Betty, thank you for your good offices. Miss Arlene will be away again next week, but we're going to have Fred Allen and Janet Lee here to fight the good fight. And now until next week, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Sarah.
Good night, Sam.
How was this the first episode?
Good night, Betty.
Good night. Good night, Dennis.
Good night, everybody. Goodbye, Arlene. Good night, John.
And I hope Arlene's having lots of fun. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
This has been a Mark Goodson, Bill Cotton production, produced in association with the CBS Television Network. of the world's #1 electric shaver, the Remington. Now, let's all play What's My Line? Now, let's see our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in the New York Journal American and papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, an old friend, a charming comedian, and bestseller writer, the book being Treadmill to Oblivion, Mr. Fred Allen.
Thank you, Dorothy. Not too old a friend, I hope. And on my left, ladies and gentlemen, the only Hollywood glamour girl who has made one Tony last for 5 years out there, Miss Janet Leigh.
Wow.
Thank you. And on my left, the gentleman who has always been my idea of what a successful book publisher should look like, Mr. Bennett Stern.
I'll tell you, Janet, that when I told my friends in Houston Thursday that you were going to be on the program tonight, they got so excited they started throwing oil wells all over the place. And that gentleman you see over to my left, that's not a mirage. That's our panel moderator. And he's particularly happy tonight because he and his wife, Kit, are celebrating their 18th wedding anniversary tonight. John Charles Davis.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. We have a lovely, and I'm quite sure a most able new panelist with us tonight. So we've gone out of our way to see if we can test her skills and Fred Allen's skills and Dorothy's and Bennett with some very interesting occupations. We'll have a famous guest challenger a bit later on, too. But I think right now it's time for these experts to meet our first challenger whose line must be spotted. So would you sign in, please, ma'am? Juliet. Juliet Stephan, is it?
Going to God, I guess.
My 18th wedding anniversary, I'd say don't we make a...
Well, no.
Well,
This one going to hell.
Mrs. Stephan, where are you from?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Well, that's real nice. That accounts for that wonderful tan you've got, which I headed too. Well, over there is the panel. They look somewhat formidable, but don't be concerned. They're real nice people, and they would like to get a better look at you. So will you take a hike down there for me, please?
Take a hike, take a hike, take a hike.
Have you read my book? Just asking, I mean.
Will you come over here, please? Sit down. And as you may know, the panel gets one free guess as to what your line may be. And we'll begin the free guesses with Miss Kilgallen.
I think she teaches the mambo.
Teaches the mambo, Mr. Allen.
I was going to say that. Dorothy took it out of my mouth, and it's unsanitary to do a thing like that. I was going to say that she was a mambo consultant, actually.
Miss Lee?
She models bathing suits.
Mr. Sir?
I think Juliet has all the Romeos in Fort Lauderdale running after her.
This is probably for sure, but it's not the answer we were looking for, although you might have been interesting, some of you. We'll let our viewers at home have a further look at Mrs. Stephan. At the same time, we will tell them what her line is, but the panel will have to work it out.
The reaction is
how we score this operation? Fine, then I won't have to go through that. Sometimes I get letters saying, why don't you stop telling every time how you score this thing? So I won't do it this time, all right? All right, Mrs. Stephan is salaried. And let's begin the general questioning with...
Seriously though, this is not the first time.
Miss Stephan, do you deal in services?
Yes, I do.
In services, do you really? Do you, is there a product involved in what you do?
Yes.
Is this a useful product? I
Yes.
hope it is useful.
Yes.
Is it, could you construe this product as being decorative too?
Sometimes.
It is decorative?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Is it about the size? Is it something that if I were in the mood, and could I lift it up and hold it in my hand?
Yes.
Is it something that could be used by both sexes?
Yes.
Is it conceivable that I, sometime during my life, would find the need of services of this nature?
Could be.
Could be. Do you have an office where you indulge in these services? Where this? No. I was going so well, John, I confused myself.
You want to start that one all over again, Fred?
No, I generally don't get this far, and the altitude brought on a mental nosebleed there. So high up in my. Well, tell me, is this product something that might be found in the home?
Yes.
Would it be confined to one particular room in the home?
Yes and no.
You have two
Yeah,
rooms.
that's a very fair answer on Mrs. Steffen's part. Actually, I think what she is intimating there, Fred, is that to the degree that it's not in use, it might be confined to a general area in the home, whereas when it's in use, it could, be found elsewhere. Is that what you meant?
John, I must caution you. The essence of comedy is brevity, and the plight of the midget. And I'm further confused now, actually. Is this something that's made of this product? Is it something that's made of metal?
Yes.
And you mean made in the main of metal? We want to.
Made in any other state at all. If it's made of metal, it could be.
No!
Don't ridicule. Maine is the only state with a bath, you know. It's the only. But,
I mean, Fred, we want to be helpful. Do you mean is the thing basically made of metal rather than is? Oh,
No.
basically. Thanks very much. That's one down. And nice to go, Miss Lee.
I knew it. I would be
Is
undone.
this product manufactured?
Yes.
Is it made of cloth?
Yes.
Does it come in contact with the body?
Yes.
Would it be wearing apparel of any kind?
Yes.
Would you find this in a department store?
Yes.
Is it used? Ooh. Let's see. Is it used for a special event, kind of?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you could say it was used for a special
Of
event.
course.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mrs. Steffen, did I understand correctly that this could be worn by either sex?
Yes, it can.
The general category, yes.
If it was
Yeah, so
worn,
corsets are a girl.
by, let's say, somebody on this panel, would it be visible in public?
No.
3 down and 7 to go. Jill Gallant.
Oh. You mean it wouldn't be visible even if we were standing up?
No, what actually we're doing there is we're presuming that Bennett means if this were worn by a member of the panel, would it be visible to the eye? Now, it would not in itself be visible. This is not to gainsay that there might be some manifestations of its presence, but not necessarily the naked eye.
And this is worn by both sexes?
Can be, yes. Right?
Can be.
Is it usually worn more by one sex than another?
That's right.
And does it improve the appearance in some way?
Sometimes.
It is generally considered to do so, yes.
Well, is the wearer hopeful that it will improve the appearance?
Yes.
If I were wearing it, I would wear it under my dress. Is that right?
Yes.
Is it worn next to the skin?
Yes.
Shy to say bra.
Is it worn in general around the middle of the body? Or partially around the middle?
Partially.
Does it have any constricting force or?
Sometimes.
Would you buy it in a lingerie shop?
Yes.
Would you buy it from a corsetier?
Yes.
Is it something in the undergarment, but usually with elastic or elastics family?
Yes.
Would it be called a girdle?
Yes.
Yes, that's the product. That's very good. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We may trip you up yet. What is Mrs.
I
Steffen?
realize this is not the end.
Yeah, what is...
She works in an office.
What was
Beg
that?
your pardon,
Oh,
Miss Jill Gallant? What did Mrs. Steffen have to do with
Well,
this?
she said she worked in an office.
No, it was asked if she worked in an office. The question was withdrawn. As a matter of fact,
Oh, I
no
see.
answer given.
Well, do you have something to do with the girdle after it is manufactured? Yes. Do you sell it?
Sell girdles? No. That's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Allen.
Do you model girdles?
That's right. That's why when you said model bathing suits, Miss Lee, I thought you were going to go running wild when we got to you, but you didn't. Thank you.
Can I say something?
You sure may.
I don't know if Miss Lee remembers, but I met her, or I didn't meet her, but I saw her getting on the train in Chicago and getting off here in New York. Oh, hi.
That's weird.
Just goes to show. Small world. Small
Oh,
world.
sorry.
Always making aphorisms. Well, we hope you enjoyed your It was very nice having you. Nice of you to come to What's My Line. Good night. All right. Panel, let's see what you can do with the second challenger. Would you sign in, please, sir? Victor Jackson, right, sir? Where are you from?
We just heard.
Los Angeles. Well, now we just had somebody from Florida, we got somebody from California, and it hasn't been a war around here. This is wonderful. Would you let the panel get a closer look at you and take a walk down in front of the panel for me?
Sir? Thank you. A little snog on you. I just... Left over from the Rose Bowl, I guess.
Will you come over here with that smog and sit down next to me, please? All right, now, Mr. Jackson, as you probably know, the panel gets 1 free guess as to what your line may be. We'll begin the free guesses with Miss Kilgallagher.
I think he's a tree sprayer.
A tree sprayer, Mr. Allen.
I think
stuck
Mr.
in
Jackson
here.
is Carl Sandburg's barber.
Miss Lee.
I think he has something to do with law.
With law, Mr. Sim.
I think possibly Mr. Jackson looks after the budget on Miss Lee's motion picture.
No, nobody has it. We'll let our viewers have a further look at Mr. Victor Jackson. At the same time, we'll tell them what his line is, but the panel's got the name. Jackson, you know how we score this operation, do you? That's fine. I don't have to give the explanation of that, I don't think. Mr. Jackson is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Bennett, sir.
Mr. Jackson, you're a gentleman of great dignity, if I may say so. And I would warrant a guess that you're a college man. Are you a college graduate?
No.
1 down and 9 to go. Miss Kilgallagher.
Do you work for a profit-making organization?
Yes.
Would you say you were a white-collar man?
Yes.
Not at the moment.
He's got a blue shirt on. Gray shirt, I guess.
Wait for the smuggler.
Do you work indoors more than outdoors?
Which one is the answer? Yes.
Yes, do you work indoors rather than outdoors?
Yes.
Do you ever work behind a desk or a counter?
No.
That's
Fred?
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Allen.
Well, do you deal in services of any nature?
Yes.
Do you, Are you, what you do, does it require any special training or skill?
Yes.
It shall be a long
Do you-
while
Is it
before
for-
he troubles us again.
Is it something that you'd be concerned with motion pictures?
No.
This is not concerned with
He
motion
says that as
pictures.
though he's...
Worried that you'd listen.
Beg pardon, Mr. Ray?
He's proud of not being in motion
All of
pictures.
you.
Just, it doesn't happen
did as
that,
I was asked.
Mr.
No,
Jackson's work
you
is
did as
directly
you
connected
pleased.
with motion pictures. 3 down and 7
told
to
me
go,
the
Miss Lee.
arrogance you
May I ask something?
Your
Yes, go ahead.
disregard for our ways.
Yes.
Confidence.
What are you doing? There are rules.
You gotta speak up.
Give
in the
me a
audience.
sword.
I have to
We do
hear
not
what's
abide
said.
by the Assassin's Creed. Three simple tenets, which you seem to forget.
No.
No, we
I
didn't.
will remind you.
Is there a product connected with
First
this?
and foremost,
Is there a
stay
product
your
connected with
blade
this?
from the flesh of an innocent.
Is this
know.
product found in the home?
Yes.
Is
And
it found
stay your tongue, unless I
in
give
any
you leave to
particular
use
room
it.
of the home?
You are so familiar with this tenant.
Usually, yes.
Then why did you kill the old man inside the
Would that
temple?
room be
He was innocent.
the living room?
He did not need to die.
Could be.
Your insolence knows no bounds.
Living room.
They tumble your
Is
heart,
the product
child.
manufactured?
For I swear I'll tear it from
The
you
product
with my own
manufactured.
hands.
Do
The
both
second
men and women
is that
use it?
which gives us strength. Hide in plain sight.
Is it
Let the
is it
people
something
master you such that you become one with the
movable?
crowd.
As opposed to
Eye.
something
Because as I
that
hear it, you chose to
His eye, he's already taken by the apple.
In this context, is it movable in the context of something light enough to pick up and move around easily? That's fine. It can be, but in that context, the answer would be no. 4 down and 6 to go.
Mr. Jackson, they were used for either entertainment purposes or improving the conditions in the room in which it was.
You brought the enemy to our home.
Don't tell him.
Every man we've lost today was lost
Would this be used
because of you.
for any kind of entertainment purposes?
Scapegoat.
Do any kind of sounds come out of it?
Yes.
Scapegoated.
Cannot abide a traitor.
Any kind
You
of
wanted the apple, you brought them here.
That's fine. 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Gilgal.
Well, is it either a radio or a phonograph?
Oh, bro.
Is it either a radio or a phonograph?
A radio or a
Sits.
phonograph? No, that's 6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Allen.
That it's used for entertaining purposes?
Yes.
Well, there's so many things available to entertain people in Los Angeles. This could almost be anything. Could almost be a metallic relative, actually. Is it something that's mechanically operated?
No.
It isn't.
Should I click or am I gonna
7
skip
down
a
and 3 to
skip?
go, Miss Lee. There is, in some rare occasion, I believe, a record that this has been
Or
mechanically
did
operated.
gods want to freeze frame this for
Product
me?
itself is usually not mechanically operated. Miss
To
Lee.
make me suffer.
Did we establish?
May we have a conference?
You may have 10 seconds for a conference. I'm going to give you
Didn't
one
you say
more
that
minute.
sounds came out
Yes.
of this?
Yes. Did we establish the size of it?
No, it can't be carried around easily, no.
Finally say.
All right, the 10 seconds are up. Miss Lee.
He's experiencing a far better adoption rate than the other subjects.
I'm still pulling him out.
Sense?
He's been in there way
In a
too
sense,
long.
wouldn't you say,
No, not
Mr.
yet.
Jackson?
We're
Is
still
it
so
decorative?
far from where we need to be.
Is it
We shouldn't
in the
risk
living room?
it.
Is it
What's
in
another
sight
hour
or
or
is it?
two?
Why don't we
Is it
discuss
in
this
sight?
in the conference room?
Normally inside.
Give Desmond a minute to stretch his legs.
I really
I have to think. I can't.
All right, Mr. Stern. 30 seconds.
Does this machine, Mr. Jackson, reproduce something?
Not of it? No.
No, it doesn't reproduce.
I mean,
No,
it's like a typewriter or something of the sort.
No, it's not a
Reproduce
typewriter.
things.
That's 8 down and 2 to go, Miss Dorothy.
Is it a musical instrument of any kind?
Yes.
Is it a musical instrument that's played by a person?
Yes.
Is it something other than a piano?
No.
I checked the cards. It's the piano. And actually, Mr. Jackson is a piano tuner, and currently he is the gentleman who tunes Liberace's piano. All of it piano. Now, in just a moment, we'll meet tonight's Miss. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity. My friends in the panel have blindfolds for this.